Chapter 321. In the past actual combat training in Devil class, it had always been based on individual ability. In other words, all the students who entered the training forest would become their own opponents. Xiao Jin would give each student a wooden token, similar to the Academy's wooden token, which could record the changes of the students' points. On the wooden token, there would be 30 points as the basic points. Killing the magical beasts in the training forest would be able to gain 1 point. The final outcome was to choose the top 3 outstanding students based on the number of points accumulated. And this actual combat training, the cruelest point was they could snatch the opponent's wooden token. Once the snatch was successful, all the opponent's points would be accumulated into the hands of the person who snatched it successfully. But the person whose wooden token was snatched could snatch the other person's wooden token within 1 hour. If it exceeded 1 hour, they would be forcibly chased out of the training forest. And this time round, Xiao Jin and the rest used Yiqing Luo's method. All the students were split into groups of 3, each holding a wooden token. Yiqing Luo listened and nodded her head in interest. 3 people guarding 1 wooden token, snatching another wooden token. This is indeed a good training method. To win, one person's hard work was probably not enough. They had to coordinate well and work hard together, to be able to guard their own token and snatch the opponent's token. Tong Ziqing and Ni Ruo Pan are in the same group. Their expressions seemed a little strange and I'm worried that they would create a ruckus, so I let Xiao Yi be in the same group as them, just in case. Bei Ming Lu added. Yiqing Luo nodded. Based on Tong Ziqing's character, it would indeed be better with Yan Xiao Yi around. The 2 of them took a long detour, until they reached the rear mountain of the heavenly training forest. Bei Ming Lu felt around a certain mountain wall for some time and the ground started to vibrate. The mountain wall in front of them was split into 2, revealing a long secret passage. This is the passage to the training forest, but usually it is sealed by the enchantment. We can only enter after the elder opens the entrance. Bei Ming Lu took the lead and walked into the secret passage. Yiqing Luo followed closely behind. She was thinking that after the elder opened the entrance to the training forest, the high profound classes masters and elders would be guarding the entrance. Then how should they sneak into the training forest? She had not expected that there was such a secret passage at the rear mountain of the training forest. I just finished the instructor's freshman training, so I'm late. Are there any groups? As for the heavenly training forest, Yiqing Luo was eager to give it a try. Bai Ming Lulu spread out her hand and took out a wooden token and handed it over. The class monitor said that you each have a wooden token. Yiqing Luo received the wooden token and looked at the 30 points displayed above. The corners of her mouth twitched. Not only did he not return her chi, he even wanted her to fight a 1v3. Did Long Yunzhan believe in her strength too much, or was he purposely messing with her? That's right, Master Gue Yu also took the wooden token and entered the training forest, saying that he wanted to nurture his relationship with the students. Bei Ming Lu didn't feel the turbulent waves in Yiqing Luo's heart as she continued. Teacher Gue Yu. Was there a need to go so far? Old man Gue Yu was also participating in this training. Who could beat him? Even Yiqing Luo had a messy feeling, not to mention how the other students' inner hearts were galloping in all sorts of ways. The other students are moving in groups. Only you and Teacher Gue Yu are moving alone. We heard that the high profound class will be challenging the high profound zone, so this time, our zone will be the middle profound zone. Chapter 322. As the 2 spoke, they had already entered the middle profound area of the training forest. Although it was called a training forest, it was indeed a forest. As far as the eye could see, it was densely packed with lush green trees. This kind of environment was the most suitable for fighting in the wild. There were dense trees everywhere, perfect for hiding and ambushing. It wasn't just a test of one's strength, but also one's reaction and intelligence. The students went in early in the morning. The one with the highest score has already reached 54 points. Beiming Lulu analyzed the current situation. You're late by 2 hours and have fallen behind them. You have to catch up as much as possible. Yiqing Luo nodded thoughtfully. 54. It wasn't too high. No group of students had been eliminated yet. Calculating the time, it was about time for the students to snatch the wooden tokens of the other groups. As long as one group made the first move, the other groups would probably wait for an opportunity to make their move. They all know that you and Teacher Guiyu are acting alone. They don't have the ability to deal with Teacher Guiyu, but they will target you. I know, I will take note. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as she walked deeper into the forest. The Middle Profound region's overall strength was roughly around the Mystic Profound 7th grade. The magical beasts wandering around were all mid-level magical beasts, with a small number of high-level magical beasts mixed in. However, no matter what level the magical beast was, killing one would only accumulate 1 point. Because of this, in order to save trouble, the students basically searched for mid-level magical beasts to kill. Along the way, there were many mid-level magical beast corpses on the ground. Less than 50 meters into the depths, he saw a small person curled up under a lush tree. She sat against the tree, hugging her knees and burying her head between them. Her slender body trembled from time to time, as if she was sobbing. Yiqing Luo frowned and walked over quickly. Ni Ruo Pan, why are you here? Hearing Yiqing Luo's voice, Ni Ruo Pan immediately raised her head as she opened her misty teary eyes and spoke with a sobbing tone, Madam Qing Luo. Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings. Where's Tong Ziqing? I don't want to be in the same group as her. I want to be in the same group as Madam Qing Luo. Ni Ruo Pan pursed her lips as she raised her hand to wipe her tears fiercely. Madam Qing Luo, you're also in a team alone. Can I join your team? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased even tighter as she stared at Ni Ruo Pan's skinny little face, as a chilly intent appeared in her eyes. I thought you already wanted to improve, but I didn't expect you to treat yourself as a weakling deep down in your bones. Yiqing Luo shook off Ni Ruo Pan's hand which was grabbing her. Her exquisite face was covered with a layer of frost. She purposely arranged Ni Rupan and Tong Ziqing to be in the same group because she wanted to familiarize themselves with their characters. One was as petty as dust, while the other thought too highly of himself. If these two extreme people could work together, they would definitely be able to change these shortcomings. However, Ni Rupan was the first to give up. I didn't, Madam Qing Luo. It's not that I don't want to become stronger, but Sister Ziqing feels that I'm a hindrance. Ni Ruo Pan's eyelashes which were wet with tears drooped down as she explained in a submissive manner. She bit her lower lip, trying hard to stop her tears from flowing. I know that with my strength, it's very difficult in the Middle Profound Zone. I tried my best to cooperate with Big Sister Ziqing, but these are not excuses. Yiqing Luo's voice was chilly as she crossed her arms and spoke calmly. I never keep weaklings by my side. Chapter 323. She had done everything she could to help Ni Rupan. It was up to Ni Rupan to overcome her inner cowardice and inferiority complex. Madam Qing Luo. Ni Ruo Pan's hand which was flung away froze in mid-air as he stared blankly at Yiqing Luo. But when she met Yiqing Luo's icy cold gaze, she seemed to have been hit by a stick as she violently shook her head. Madam Qing Luo, I'm not a weakling. I will also become strong enough to stand by your side. Yiqing Luo had once said that I'm born with a talent, I'm bound to be useful. He had said that he had proven his ability by passing the Heavenly Academy's entrance examination. She was definitely not trash. She wanted to be as confident as Yiqing Luo, so that one day, she would have enough qualifications to become Yiqing Luo's left and right arm. Pan's eyes lit up with a resolute expression as she lifted her sleeve to wipe the tears off her face. I'll go back to look for Sister Ziqing now. For Madame Qing Luo, I will definitely work hard. Not for me, but for yourself. Qing Luo shook her head slowly. Rupin stared at her and smiled through her tears. After that, she turned around and ran towards the dense forest ahead. Qing Luo stared at her back as she sighed helplessly. Just as he was about to start walking in another direction, just as he turned to the side, a fierce whirlwind assaulted him. The shadows of the trees were mottled, making an ear-piercing rustling sound. Qing Luo reacted in time, and with a light tap of her toes, she swiftly retreated backwards. The dense trees in front of him swayed, and the light that blocked the sunlight flickered. Bang! A loud sound reverberated as that whirlwind blasted onto the place where Qing Luo was standing earlier, exploding out a black hole. Madame Qing Luo. Hearing the noise, Pan turned around and saw that Qing Luo had been ambushed. The shadows of the trees swayed and 3 figures appeared in front of Qing Luo. Student Yi. A smile hung on Dan Baishi's face. I've always remembered the battle with you when we first entered the academy. Today is a rare opportunity. Why don't we use the wooden token as a wager and have a match? These 3 people, weren't they 3 of the 8 people who ambushed Qing Luo in the outer courtyard when she just joined the devil class? Dan Baishi seemed to have been knocked unconscious by her that day. Was he here to seek revenge? Qing Luo's eyes rose slightly as she laughed lightly. How do you want to compete? Last time you alone defeated the 8 of us. Dan Baishi removed the wooden token from her waist, as she displayed the numbers on it to Qing Luo, 42 points. This point was not the best at the moment, but it was not too far behind either. Now, we have 42 points, and we're betting 30 points on you. Dan Baishi pointed to the 2 male students behind her. If Student Yi alone defeats the 3 of us, it will be your win. You guys are robbers. Pan's expression changed drastically as he opened up his arms and stood in front of Qing Luo. 3 against 1, and you still act so righteous. Dan Baishi sneered, and swept a disdainful glance at Pan. Yo, isn't this the little trash that was abandoned by big sister Ziqing? You can help if you want, but... Are you sure you're helping, or dragging her down? I'm not trash. Pan bit her lower lip tightly as that skinny little face shot out a resolute conviction. You're the trash. You obviously know that you can't defeat Madame Qing Luo alone, so you want to join forces with the 3 of us to snatch Madame Qing Luo's wooden token. Chapter 324. You all. Student Dan is right, this is the rule and it's reasonable and reasonable. Qing Luo stretched out her hand and pushed Pan aside as she slowly walked towards Dan Baishi. Her charming eyes curved into a long and narrow arc, and her sweet voice lowered a few notches. Since Student Dan wants to bet, I will naturally accept this bet. This smile was extremely alluring. But Dan Baishi shuddered as her back started to feel chilly. She forced herself to hang on as she maintained a calm expression on her face. Just as she was about to shout for the 2 people behind her to attack Qing Luo, that greenish-white figure suddenly disappeared in front of her eyes. As though she had blended into the air. Dan Baishi's expression changed abruptly as she gave a low cry and speedily turned around as she drew out the long sword on her waist. Pay attention. Watch her closely. Her words had just ended when she heard a student giving a dull moan as his tall and mighty figure instantly flew out. He rolled several rounds on the ground and crashed against a thick tree trunk as he stopped. That huge tree which required 2 people to hug was swayed from the impact as leaves started to fall. That was enough to show the might of this collision. That male student's face turned pale as he groaned in pain and fainted not too long later. At the place where the male student was standing earlier, that slender and enchanting lady had a pair of sparkling eyes as she gave a flirtatious smile. Even though they were both wearing the same green and white uniform, she looked like a budding lotus on her body. Pure and elegant, making one not dare to look at her directly. Dan Bai-shi and the other male students' eyes widened as they were filled with astonishment. If it was said that day when Yiqing Luo fell into devil class, the 8 of them were defeated by Yiqing Luo, they could find an excuse to say that it was because they had belittled Yiqing Luo and weren't prepared. But now, they didn't even know when Yiqing Luo made her move or how she did it. If the person who flew out was them. Dan Bai-shi's petite little face turned extremely pale as she retreated a few steps. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she crooked her finger at Dan Bai-shi. Come, it's your turn now. Dan Bai-shi bit her lower lip fiercely as her pair of beautiful eyes stared at Yiqing Luo in terror as she clenched her fists tightly. After a while, she tapped the ground with the tip of her foot and quickly retreated into the forest at the side. As for the male student who was left behind, when he saw Dan Bai-shi leave alone with the wooden token, his brows furrowed. He clenched his fists tightly as he stared at Yiqing Luo for some time before gritting his teeth. As long as there's one survivor in our team, he represents our entire team. Kill or torture, it's up to you. You do have some backbone. Yiqing Luo scoffed lightly. The feeling of being abandoned by your own companions isn't very good, right? The male student's upright face was slightly pale. The reason why this combat training has been changed to a team competition is to cultivate your sense of teamwork. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up in ridicule as her charming eyes were filled with cold ridicule. I'll temporarily let you return to student Dan's side. Let me see your team awareness. After Yiqing Luo finished her words, she walked towards that fainted male student. She stretched out her hand to feel the male student's forehead as she skillfully took his pulse, while saying, also pass a message to student Dan. I will remember this bet, and if we meet again later, I will not show any mercy. Yiqing Luo took out a medicine bottle from the profound phoenix ring as she poured out a medicinal pill which was used to nurture internal injuries and stuffed it into the male student's mouth. This companion of yours will be fine. Later when Lulu comes on patrol, she will bring him back for treatment. That male student's expression stiffened slightly as he looked at his companion who had taken the medicinal pill. His face regained some color. Chapter 325. Madam Qing Luo. Madam Qing Luo. Ni Ruopan hurriedly chased up to Yiqing Luo's footsteps. The way she looked at Yiqing Luo was filled with worship as her eyes shone brightly. Sir Qing Luo was simply too handsome. She was simply the goddess in her heart. She was even more determined to follow Madam Qing Luo's footsteps till death. Yiqing Luo's footsteps didn't stop as she heard the young lady shouting her name at the top of her lungs. Hearing someone chasing after him and calling him "my lord," he felt a little uncomfortable. For the rest of the journey, it was quiet. They didn't see any other students. It was so quiet that it was as if she and Ni Rupan were the only ones left in the middle profound zone. Occasionally, 1 or 2 mid-level battle-type magical beasts would appear. Looking at Ni Ruopan who had been following her with a cautious look, Yiqing Luo let her deal with the intermediate-level magical beast alone. Ni Rupan did not refute the goddess's words. No matter how afraid he was in his heart, he still braced himself, released his profound energy, and charged toward the mid-level magical beast. Ni Rupan's physical quality was rather poor, hence it was indeed a little strenuous for her to face these mid-level magical beasts. In particular, Ni Ruopan's actual combat training was too little. There were several times when she was almost scratched by the mid-grade magical beasts. Fortunately, Yiqing Luo reminded her to avoid them in time. Yiqing Luo had no intention to go up and help, but at the most crucial moment, she would remind Ni Ruopan where to attack, how to avoid it, and how to calculate the magical beast's movements and frequency. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, no matter how bad Ni Rupan's aptitude was, she understood how to use her advantage to defeat the demonic beasts. Ni Rupin cried out in joy after she exhausted her strength to kill another demonic beast. She did it. He really did it. She killed a mid-level magical beast. In the past, Ni Rupin never thought that she could defeat a demonic beast with her poor aptitude. Even low-level magical beasts couldn't do it, let alone mid-level magical beasts. Ni Ruopan skipped as she dashed towards Yi Qing Luo, so excited that her eyes were brimming with tears. Madam Qing Luo, I've done it. I really did it. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled. I saw it, it's not bad. It was a simple sentence, but Ni Ruopan was so excited that she cried tears of joy. She wiped her tears and couldn't stop giggling. The goddess had praised her. The goddess' acknowledgement was more effective than any words. In his mind, he suddenly heard the goddess's cold and firm voice saying, "Everyone has their own dignity. Before they give up on themselves, no one can say that they are trash." After that, the two of them went deeper into the forest. When they met with magical beasts, Yi Qing Luo let Ni Ruo take over. She killed one demonic beast after another, and about 5 demonic beasts died in her hands. Ni Ruopan gradually became more proficient from her original timid self. Kicking and punching, his movements were smooth and seamless. Time passed by one breath at a time. Soon, the sky gradually darkened. Ni Rupin was exhausted, but she still wanted to continue. Ni Rupin's body was covered in the blood of the demonic beasts, and her nostrils were filled with the smell of blood, but she did not notice it at all. It was until they killed another middle-grade magical beast. Ni Ruopan's brows were filled with smiles. Madam Qing Luo, how many points have you accumulated for your wooden token? She had killed so many magical beasts that she should have at least a dozen points. Chapter 326. You're a member of Tong Zi Qing's team, so the points from killing the magical beasts naturally belong to your team members. Yi Qing Luo brushed away the wooden token on her waist as she replied disapprovingly. Then why did you ask me to kill the magical beasts? You should be the one to do it. Ni Rupin bit her lower lip and looked like she wanted to cry but had no tears. She had put in so much effort just to earn more points for her goddess. Who would have thought that it would actually benefit Tong Ziqing? Don't feel resentful. That's your team. It's your team. Yi Qing Luo played it down as she continued to walk forward. Your motive for participating in the actual combat training is to help your team accumulate points. Ni Ruopan pursed her lips as she silently followed behind Yi Qing Luo. At this time, the sky had already turned completely dark. The dense trees around them looked like witches with their hands wide open, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, trying to swallow people into their stomachs. Do you know when the entrance to the training forest closes? For the entire day, apart from Dan Baishi and the others, she and Ni Rupin did not see anyone else. He wondered how the other students were faring. Ni Ruopan raised her head and looked at the sky that was covered by the lush foliage. It was so dark that not a single ray of light could be seen. Vice class monitors said that we must report to the secret passage before the night. What time of the day? Yi Qing Luo calculated that there were still about 2 hours left. Let's go. Yi Qing Luo opened her arms and stretched her muscles. Ni Rupin was confused. Where are we going? Yi Qing Luo twisted her neck and said lightly, looking for students, snatching points. Ha! Ni Rupin blinked and returned to her senses after a while. Yi Qing Luo had already walked far away and she hurriedly jogged up to her. Madam Qing Luo, are you going to snatch other students' wooden tokens? If they didn't snatch it now, when would they? These students had been working hard for an entire day, and at this time, they were exhausted. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a crafty arc. The most important thing now was to find the other students. Ni Ruopan went into a daze for some time before she understood Yi Qing Luo's meaning from the deep smile on her lips. Madam Qing Luo, you're so treacherous. His words had just ended when his body was suddenly pulled by Yi Qing Luo and he stood behind two huge trees. Ouch! Ni Rupan's body was slammed against the tree trunk, and her face was covered by the surrounding leaves. Qing! Before he could say anything, Yi Qing Luo growled, "Shut up." Yi Qing Luo's expression was grave as she squinted her eyes and looked ahead through the tree branches. Not far away, there was a hubbub of noise. More than 10 students dressed in green and white uniforms surrounded a person who had fallen to the ground. He could vaguely hear the coarse curses of a few people. What is this thing? It actually ran into the training forest. He's neither a human nor a beast. The training forest is basically sealed off. It's only opened when the classes have actual combat training. How could something else have gotten in? While those people were discussing, they heard another person shout, "Make way, the acting vice president is here, everyone make way." The students surrounding him immediately moved aside to make a path for him. Through the luminous pearls in the students' hands, Yi Qing Luo saw that person's face on the ground. It was an unfamiliar face, and he was not a student of the devil class. That was a petite young lady, curled up on the ground. The young lady's attire was extremely strange. It was a black furry long robe, wrapping around her petite body. That exquisite little face was as pale as a piece of paper. Chapter 327. The students in front of her were all from the high profound class. No wonder she hadn't seen any devil class students. Unknowingly, she had barged into the high profound class. Fortunately, she didn't bump into any high profound class students along the way. Otherwise, if the high profound class knew that she had entered the training forest, it would implicate the devil class. Ni Ruopan also noticed the figure in front of her and froze on the spot, not daring to move. On the other side, following the respectful greetings of the students, Lu Shuelon slowly walked in front of the young girl, surrounded by the stars and the moon. A little girl. Lu Shuelon squinted her beautiful eyes as she lifted her leg and gave the young lady a kick. "Where did you come from?" The young lady opened her clear eyes and shrank back as she shook her head. "Bring her out and hand her over to the elder quarters." Lu Shuelon rolled her eyes in disdain, as arrogant as a rooster. "Don't bother me with such a small matter, I'm very busy." Yes, Vice President is appointed today and has so many things on hand. For the glory of the high profound class, you took time out of your busy schedule to participate in the actual combat training. It's just a stranger, just hand her over to the elder. A female student beside her smiled flatteringly as she kept on bootlicking. Such a responsible vice president like Vice President, I think it won't be long before you can officially take up the post. Lu Shuelon had a complacent look as she laughed and walked past the young lady. Lu Shueyu was punished and Lu Shuelon took over. These two sisters looked very close on the surface, but she didn't expect that. They were scheming against each other for the sake of status. "Madam Qing Luo, that person looks so pitiful," Ni Ruopan said in a low voice. Yi Qing Luo's eyes flickered slightly. That young lady was covered in injuries, and if she didn't take the time to treat her, she might not even be able to keep her life. She wondered what kind of cruel methods these high profound class students had used on a little girl. But Yi Qing Luo didn't want to be nosy. She couldn't care less. She wasn't omnipotent. There were more than 10 high profound class students. If she rushed out, wouldn't she be courting death? Especially if she were to poke her nose into this, wouldn't it be telling the high profound class students that she had come to the training forest? And then, it would implicate the devil class. In the end, the elder would investigate and close the secret passage to the training forest. Little Luo. Just as Yi Qing Luo was about to pull Ni Ruopan away, Old Man Tsang's voice suddenly rang in her mind. She was startled and replied, "I'm here. If I'm not mistaken, that girl, should be a beastman. Beastmen. Yiqing Luo frowned, not understanding what the beast-human clan was. The beastmen race is different from magical beasts. Magical beasts are pure beasts, while the beastmen race should be considered half-human and half-beast. Old Man Tsang explained in a deep voice, the beastmen race is born half-human and half-beast. Hearing Old Man Tsang's words, Yiqing Luo then noticed that the lady lying on the ground had 2 black ears on top of her bundled-up hair. It was furry and trembled from time to time. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Cat beast. The Beastman clan is extremely rare in the Nirvana realm, and it can even be said that they have long been extinct. Old Man Tsang was silent for a moment, and his tone became serious. I never thought that I would actually be able to see another Beastman. The Nirvana realm was already extinct. Could it be that this young lady came from outside the Nirvana realm? Chapter 328. Contract. Although the beastmen looked like half-human and half-beast, but if you didn't look closely, no matter how you looked at it, it looked like a human. If you made a contract with it, it felt like you were making a contract with a person. The biggest difference between the magical beasts and the beastmen is this. Old Man Tsang continued in a deep voice, the magical beast contract is your battle partner, for you to ride, to cooperate with you in battle. Whereas the Beastman contract is to provide you with internal support, to receive the Beastman's bloodline inheritance. Bloodline. Bloodline inheritance is to share the strength of the Beastmen with you. Old Man Tsang's tone became a little excited. Humans all want to sign a contract with the Beastmen, to receive the Beastman's bloodline inheritance. This will be of great help to your cultivation. You mean, I should save her? Yiqing Luo raised her brows slightly. This is for your own good. The Beastmen appearing in Nirvana realm is a rare opportunity. Indeed, it was a rare opportunity. But, under such circumstances, how should she save that young lady? Madam Qing Luo, what are you thinking about? Ni Ruopan carefully tugged at Yiqing Luo's sleeve. Yiqing Luo kept a calm face and didn't make a sound. Ni Ruopan was a little scared. A way to save her. Yiqing Luo frowned as her brain worked. She saw a student lifting the young lady with one hand and preparing to leave the training forest. Yiqing Luo didn't have time to hesitate, she gritted her teeth and used her thoughts to call out Shiju. Ever since leaving the magic beast forest, Shiju had been staying in the pet space. Shiju was the same size as Chi-Chi, sitting on the ground and looking up at Yiqing Luo. Ni Ruopan was shocked when a little thing suddenly popped out. Yiqing Luo quickly untied her uniform and took out a set of red dress that Dmo Xian had prepared for her from the profound phoenix ring. She threw the uniform to Ni Ruopan. Do you still remember the way? Ni Ruopan nodded. She might not be good at other things, but her memory was the best. She followed Yiqing Luo left and right along the way. To prevent getting lost, she specially remembered all the roads. All right, go back the way you came and wait for me at the place where we met. Yiqing Luo said as she untied her hair tie, letting her fine black hair fall down. You want to be alone, there's less than 2 hours left. We'll leave immediately after we save them. At the same time when her words fell, Shiju received Yiqing Luo's instructions and its palm-sized figure suddenly transformed into a leopard beast in battle form. Roar! A sharp howl came from Shiju's mouth. The size of Shiju's combat form was a little bigger than when he saw it in the magical beast forest. This change naturally attracted the attention of the high-level class students. Yiqing Luo leaped up and landed on the back of Shiju. At the same time, her fingertips lifted a white veil, covering half of her face. When Shiju transformed, Ni Rupan was completely stunned. Her aptitude was mediocre, but she had a good memory. She liked to read books that were helpful to her cultivation. Naturally, he could recognize that this leopard-shaped magical beast was a low-level magical beast. A mirage beast. What level of magical beast was that? In the entire Three Springs city, there were no more than 3 families that could take out a mirage beast. Madame Qing Luo had actually contracted a mirage beast as her own war pet. Oh my god! What kind of pervert was her goddess? Chapter 329. Yiqing Luo's vision had been paying attention to Ni Ruo Pan. Seeing that she had gone far away, Yiqing Luo rode on Shiju and speedily approached that group of students. Who is it? More than 10 students stopped in their tracks and raised the luminous pearl. One of the students frowned and berated sternly, "Do you know what this place is?" These students had some doubts in their hearts. The entrance to the heavenly training forest would usually only be open during class training. Why were there so many strangers today? Wait, wait! Some students exclaimed, "That's a mirage beast." Low-level mirage beast. More than 10 students' expressions changed when they heard the 2 words mirage beast. Their faces revealed an astonished look. Mirage beast. Even if it was a low-level mirage beast, they would not be its opponent even if they worked together to deal with it. But there was actually a person sitting on the back of a low-level mirage beast. There was actually someone who could contract a mirage beast. What happened? Suddenly, a clear and melodious voice came from afar. Yiqing Qian stepped on the air and landed gracefully in front of the students. Yiqing Qian had been living a miserable life recently. Ever since the last time when she brought Lu Shuiyu to catch Yiqing Luo for violating the school rules, but was slapped on the face by Yiqing Luo and was forced to wash the toilet for 3 days, Yiqing Qian had been isolated by the students. Lu Shuiyu wouldn't do anything to her on the surface, but the means of revenge in the dark was enough to torture her until she begged for mercy. Today, Lu Shuilan's promotion saved her from the edge of isolation. She wanted to achieve a good result in today's actual combat training, to regain the good impression of the students. Coincidentally, she had accumulated over 40 points and was preparing to leave to find Lu Shuilan to flatter her, but she discovered the commotion over here. Thinking of the recent few days, the students had isolated her under Lu Shuiyu's hint. She had to change her image and maintain the reputation of Three Springs Town's #1 beauty. Therefore, after she saw the commotion, she immediately came up to welcome them. Student Qing Qian. A student saw Yiqing Qian's arrival and was overjoyed. Although Yiqing Qian had offended Lu Shuiyu these few days, everyone had been avoiding her. But today Lu Shuilan had ascended to the position and everyone wasn't willing to offend the pampered eldest young miss of Three Springs sect, so they tried to cater to her perfunctorily. Most importantly, Yiqing Qian's profound grade was above them. Student Qing Qian, there's a stranger in the training forest. The student pointed at the young lady who was being carried, and glanced at Yiqing Luo's direction apprehensively. The minute Yiqing Qian came over, her vision fell onto Yiqing Luo. That red dress which was like a blooming rose and that enchanting temperament made her subconsciously think of Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Qian's eyes darkened as her gaze turned sharp. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she met Yiqing Qian's probing gaze with a smile which didn't look like a smile. The red lips under the veil curled up into a sneer. He had not expected Yiqing Qian to be here as well. But Yiqing Qian's eyes seemed to have recognized her. Yiqing Qian understood her so well. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes curved as she intentionally suppressed her own voice, changing the tone of her voice. I'm just passing by this place, I don't want to start a dispute with you, I only need you to hand that young lady over to me. Passing by. Yiqing Qian scoffed, the entrance here is usually sealed and only open today, how did you pass by? What has it got to do with you? Yiqing Luo patted Shiju lightly, indicating it to come closer. Chapter 330. No matter how mentally prepared Yi Qingqian was, she couldn't help but shriek out in fright when she saw the head of a huge leopard. "I have no intention to cause trouble, hand the girl over to me and I will leave immediately." Yi Qingluo spat in disdain as she raised her eyes and looked directly at the direction of the girl. The student who was carrying the young girl fell to the ground when his gaze swept past him. She blinked her eyes, her pure eyes revealed a bit of fear and innocence, a delicate and pitiful look. Yi Qingluo's figure swayed as she flipped down from the jade and flew towards the girl. Just as her hand was about to pull the girl into her arms, suddenly a pop-pop sound came from the air. A soft whip, as fast as lightning, lashed over fiercely, making a whistling sound in the air. Trespassers in the heavenly training forest must be arrested and sent to the elder quarters. Yi Qingqian shouted and waved the long whip to stop Yi Qingluo's action. That whip was lashed with great force. Yi Qingluo's hand retracted and her body fell down softly. Her body had already avoided this long whip in an extremely strange posture. Yi Qingqian's delicate brows twisted into a ball and her face turned extremely ugly. She was unconvinced as she flipped the long whip and lashed it towards Yi Qingluo's body. Yi Qingqian's original weapon was a soft whip. Previously Yi Qingluo had destroyed a supreme divine whip and Yi Tianquang had found a pure quality long whip for her. Although it was not as powerful as the previous divine whip, but after all it was still the best of the pure quality. When the whip lashed down, there was a trace of indistinct electric current running along the whip's body. She is indeed student Qingqian, the #1 genius beauty of Three Springs sect, a well-deserved reputation. The high profound class students couldn't help but praise Yi Qingqian's action and posture. These students' aptitudes were all above average. But that didn't stop them from praising the strong. Yi Qingqian's whip skills were incomparably elegant. His every move was like a dance. And that long whip, swept through the air, brought about a sound of breaking wind, which made one's heart tremble. Even if it was them, probably no one could avoid Yi Qingqian's whip. But, what surprised them was that the red-clothed woman with a white veil on her face was as nimble as a loach. They were unable to catch her at all. Yi Qingqian's every whip missed. The whip struck the ground around them, causing cracks to appear on the ground. Yi Qingluo took out a dagger from the profound phoenix ring and pointed it at Yi Qingqian. The radiance of the night pearls in the surroundings reflected the dagger's blade aura. It was extremely dazzling. Yi Qingluo didn't use the glower flame fan, and based on Yi Qingqian's understanding of herself, she would probably be recognized the minute she used the fan. Yi Qingluo was proficient in light weapons. Daggers and feather fan were no different. That dagger could cut through iron like mud. It had barely touched Yi Qingqian by half an inch and it had already been cut. But as the dagger flew around Yi Qingluo's fingertips, it didn't hurt her fingers at all. On the contrary, Yi Qingqian was forced to retreat by that dagger. Yi Qingluo's control of the dagger was extremely agile, as it slashed towards her body, as though it would slice her neck in the next second. The terrain of the training forest was extremely disadvantageous to Yi Qingqian. The surrounding forest was dense and Yi Qingqian's long whip, the space was too narrow and faced with resistance, the power was not even half of the power displayed in a spacious area. Chapter 331. After a few rounds, Yi Qingqian was like a mouse being teased, unable to resist at all. When the surrounding students saw this scene, the admiration towards Yi Qingqian gradually turned into ridicule. Yi Qingqian's face flushed red. This was called not being able to act cool and instead became a coward. She whipped the long whip hatefully, wishing she could whip the lady in red 81 times. Women in red were all so hateful. Yi Qingluo was. And this lady too. Why are you all still standing there foolishly? If the elder knew that an outsider had entered the training forest and we let the outsider escape, how would he punish the high profound class? At this moment, Yi Qingqian had no intention to continue to be in the limelight. Her mind was filled with thoughts of gathering more than 10 students to take down this lady in red and let her torture her. The high profound class students frowned, not liking Yi Qingqian's tone. They had always been respected in the academy and were used to being flattered. They were used to seeing Yi Qingqian's gentle and generous look, but when they heard Yi Qingqian's commanding words, they revealed a displeased look. Seeing that those students were unmoved, Yi Qingqian was so angry that she almost vomited blood. In this moment of absent-mindedness, there was a cold touch on her cheek. She immediately concentrated and was about to avoid it. However, the enchanting figure in red before him waved her sleeves lightly. An icy coldness streaked across her cheek. Immediately, there was a stinging pain on the side of her cheek, as if there was liquid flowing out. You dare to ruin my face. Yi Qingqian's eyes widened as she reached out to touch her cheek. Sure enough, there was a stickiness on her hand. What women cared most about was their own appearance. Especially Yi Qingqian, who was known as the #1 beauty in Three Spring City, she cared about her own appearance even more. Yi Qingluo played with the dagger in her hand which was stained with blood, her brows revealed a mocking sneer. Next time, it will be your left cheek, are you ready? Yi Qingqian gripped the long whip tightly and lashed it towards Yi Qingluo in anger. A strong profound qi broke out from Yi Qingqian's body. A powerful wave of qi encircled her body. That long whip drew a black arc in midair, like a soft snake, as it wound towards Yi Qingluo. With a belly full of anger, the profound energy released was much more ferocious than before. If you're still students of the high profound class, you shouldn't just stand by and watch. Not only will we be punished by the elders for trespassing into the training forest, but we will also be reported to the entire academy. When that time comes, I won't be the only one who will be embarrassed. Yi Qingqian had learned her lesson this time round. These students had stood at the top for a long time, and they valued their reputation more than anyone else. Inform the entire academy that the high profound class had released a stranger who trespassed into the training grounds. The one who was embarrassed was the entire high profound class. If word got out that a dozen of them from the high profound class allowed a girl to come and go as she pleased and even brought an injured person away, the students from the other classes would probably doubt the capability of the high-level class. Those 10 students exchanged glances and headed towards Yi Qingluo's direction, surrounding her. Shijue. Yi Qingluo's eyes flashed coldly as her lips curled into a treacherous sneer. She shouted out, and Shiju, who was originally standing not too far away, widened its beast eyes as it stared unblinkingly at its master. With a leap, it broke through those 10 students' encirclement and stood right in front of Yi Qingluo. It arched its body, opened its mouth and gave out a low growl. Its sharp fangs were exceptionally dazzling. Chapter 332. One must know that if it was an experienced mercenary group facing a mirage beast, they would feel guilty. Not to mention these students. Yi Qingqian swallowed a mouthful of saliva, looking at the lady riding on the mirage beast's back. The coquettish red figure stung her eyes. She suppressed the surging fear in her heart and pursed her red lips tightly. This lady's profound grade is not high. As long as we restrain the mirage beast, we will subdue her, and that mirage beast will not dare to be rash. Just now, when they exchanged blows, Yi Qingqian sensed that the lady's profound grade was not considered high. She was able to avoid her long whip only because of the terrain here and the lady's agility. The only thing worthy of their vigilance was that low-grade mirage beast. Red dress, leopard-type mirage beast. If it wasn't for the fact that this mirage beast was not very similar to the leopard-type mirage beast they saw in the magical beast, Yi Qingqian would have thought that this lady was Yi Qingluo. However, when she thought that Yi Qingluo was still in the waist class and had no chance to appear here, she suppressed this thought in her heart. More than a dozen students heard this and once again surrounded Yiqing Luo and Shi Ju. "Miss, this is the Heavenly Academy's restricted area. You trespass here has violated the school's rules. You'd better surrender obediently and follow us to see the elders." One of the male students frowned and tried to reason with Yiqing Luo. The prestige of the Heavenly Academy had spread throughout the Nirvana realm. Daring to create trouble in the Heavenly Academy, if the elders were to punish you severely, you might lose half your life. However, the lady opposite did not show any signs of fear. With a veil covering her face, he could not see her expression clearly. However, that pair of cold, enchanting eyes was like an ice-cold, poisonous tongue, ruthlessly pinching his heart. This lady's aura was too majestic. Even the name of the Heavenly Academy couldn't suppress her. "What's the point of talking so much? The entrance to the training forest is about to close." Yiqing Qian's gentle and beautiful face was covered with a layer of sternness. Her voice also added some majesty. "You guys, go to the entrance to call for help. Today we must take down these outsiders who trespass into the training forest." Pausing for a moment, she continued, "For outsiders to trespass into the training forest, it is very likely to affect the safety of the other students. As students of the high profound class, if we can save the hidden safety of the school, it would be an honor for the high profound class." One of them went to the entrance to report while the others continued to be in a deadlock with Yiqing Luo. The dense forest in the training forest covered the bright moon in the sky. The surroundings were dark and gloomy, terrifying, and extremely stifling. Yiqing Qian had always been one of the top students in the class. Even though she had lost face and reputation due to many things, her strength was still there. At this moment, Yiqing Qian put on a solemn expression as she commanded everyone in an orderly manner. The other students were also thinking the same thing. To let the high profound class become the target of envy from the other classes, they immediately developed a conflicted heart and cooperated with Yiqing Qian. One must know that even though their high profound class was revered by the other students, however, they were still suppressed by the class of gods. At the mention of the high profound class, the students had to mention the class of gods and use it as a comparison. Yiqing Qian ordered 2 people to guard the injured young lady, in case she was taken away by Yiqing Luo. If Yiqing Luo was taken away, they would not be able to catch up to her when she rode on the mirage beast. Yiqing Qian glanced sideways at the young lady lying on the ground. A cold glint appeared in her eyes as the long whip moved again. Chapter 333. Shi Ju's size was huge, but it was extremely agile. The surrounding dense forest was not a hindrance to it but a help. Its thick claws slammed hard on the ground and its huge body had already soared into the air. On the other hand, the earth quaked and the mountains shook as countless cracks appeared on the ground. Yiqing Qian didn't stop as she released her profound qi and injected it into the long whip. Her target was only Shi Ju. The surrounding students also quickly surrounded him and attacked him. Their target was Yiqing Luo. One against the Mirage Beast, the other against Yiqing Luo. One had to admit that Yiqing Qian's move was indeed ingenious. When Yiqing Qian attacked Shi Ju avoided the attack of the long whip and charged forward to counterattack. On Yiqing Luo's side, a few high-profound class students attacked from the left and right, setting off bursts of palm wind as they struck towards Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo and Shi Ju hadn't been together for a long time and the human and beast had yet to develop a tacit understanding. The high profound class split up to attack and Yiqing Luo was at a disadvantage. Just as Yiqing Qian's upper body curled up a whirlwind, Yiqing Luo's body flipped and rolled down from Shi Ju's back. When the students saw this, joy flashed past their eyes. As long as Yiqing Luo didn't have the Mirage Beast's help, it would be easy to capture her. Yiqing Qian's lips curled into a cold smile as she shouted, "Student Yan, Student Shengguan, I'll have to trouble the both of you to trap this Mirage Beast." Among the students who were entangled with Yiqing Luo, Two of them retreated from the battle and flew towards Yi Qingqian's direction. A man and a woman. The man was holding a long sword and had a proper appearance. The minute he got close to Shi Ju, the long sword in his hand curled up a ray of sword radiance as it struck towards Shi Ju. After being shouted at by Yi Qingqian suddenly realized that this man holding a long sword, wasn't he Sheng Wanlu Li's third brother, Sheng Wanfang Yi? As for the other woman, her looks were exquisite and her brows had the same gentleness as Yi Qingqian. Only her eyes revealed a hint of viciousness. Not knowing if it was because the surroundings were too dark or Yi Qingluo's eyes were blurry, Yi Qingluo actually felt that this woman looked like someone. Not giving Yi Qingluo much time to think, Yi Qingqian's long whip had already lashed towards her. The two people that Yi Qingqian had chosen, one used a long blade while the other used a pair of blades. With their coordination, they really managed to block Shi Ju, who was about to rush towards Yi Qingluo. This was the academy. Yi Qingluo could not kill anyone. Shi Ju could dodge and put on a threatening stance, but it couldn't really use its claws and mouth. Otherwise, with a single swipe of its claws, these high-profound class students would be turned into meat patties. If they were to leave with the cat beast girl, these high-level class students would leave this matter unsettled in order to protect the reputation of the high-level class. Even if the academy were to conduct a thorough investigation, it would be done in secret to prevent disrupting the students' concentration in class. But if someone were to die here, and it was a high-profound class student, the consequences would be different. At this moment, Yi Qingluo was surrounded by 5 high-profound class students. Yi Qingjian sneered, "Trespasser, how dare you intrude into our high-profound class territory? Now, pay the price for your ignorance." That lady in red, as she walked, her skirt was slightly fluttering, like a rose blooming in the dark night, revealing a flirtatious yet fatal charm. In the darkness, it seemed as if a figure in Yi Qingqian's heart was gradually overlapping. If there was something strange, then it was strange that this lady had to wear a red skirt, and looked so similar to that little slut Yi Qingluo. Yi Qingqian's eyes seemed to be dipped in poison, becoming increasingly vicious. Seeing that Yi Qingqian's long whip was about to land on Yi Qingluo. Chapter 334. Yi Qingluo's speed was extremely fast, like a ghost. A chill arose in Yi Qingqian's heart. Just now when Yi Qingluo got close to her, her face was ruined by Yi Qingluo. With the previous lesson, Yi Qingqian swiftly retreated and with a feint, she avoided Yi Qingluo's entanglement. Yi Qingqian's long whip was a long-distance attack. And Yi Qingluo's dagger could only be used in close combat. As long as Yi Qingluo didn't get close to her, Yi Qingluo couldn't do anything to her. With this thought in mind, Yi Qingqian's eyes shot out a ray of light and the hand holding the long whip waved again. Yi Qingluo raised her brows with interest. Perhaps it was because she had trained Yi Qingqian previously, the current her seemed to be much more mature. She actually knew how to use her brain to think of a way to deal with it. Seemed like she had underestimated Yi Qingqian previously, treating her as a brainless idiot with big breasts. Yi Qingluo chuckled. Hearing that chuckle, Yi Qingqian's expression congealed, the cold glint in her eyes deepened as she raised her palm and brushed against the long whip. The whip's body suddenly shone with a red glow. Strong profound qi burst forth, like a snake that was blooming with light, slithering up. Earth profound early stage. Student Qingqian actually broke through the earth profound stage. The two students who were guarding the cat beast girl had been watching the battle closely. The moment they saw the profound qi released by Yi Qingqian, their mouths immediately turned into an O shape. Such a strong wave, the surrounding had already set off layers of huge waves due to the profound qi released by Yi Qingqian. In a split second, the winds and clouds changed. I was wondering what had happened to student Qingqian these few days. I didn't expect her to advance to the Earth Profound stage. She is indeed the eldest miss of Three Springs sect, her innate talent is so strong. The two students couldn't stop exclaiming. Even the other students looked at Yiqing Qian in disbelief with a flabbergasted expression. Although the High Profound class was an extremely talented class, the overall level of Profound grade was above Mystic Profound 6th grade. And those who broke through the Earth Profound stage, the first and second class added up were no more than 5. Yiqing Qian's Profound grade had always stayed at Mystic Profound 9th grade, especially recently, no one paid attention to her. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Qian actually broke through the Earth Profound stage quietly. Ha! This intruder is dead for sure. The High Profound class students were rubbing their fists excitedly, as if they had already predicted the scene where they would bring these two intruders to the elder quarters to receive their commendation. The students of the High Profound class were all outstanding students in terms of innate talent and perception. After exchanging blows with the intruder, they could sense that the lady's Profound grade should be on par with them. Her only advantage was her precision, sensitivity, and speed. So what if he was fast? No matter how fast he would eventually tire out. As long as this intruder had no intention of leaving alone, they would be able to exhaust her strength round after round. What's more, with Earth Profound Realm Yiqing Qian around, no matter how fast she was, could she be faster than an Earth Profound cultivator? Even the difference of one grade was like the difference between heaven and earth. Not to mention the difference of a mystic class. They were not on the same level at all. Yiqing Luo's eyes surfaced a sliver of astonishment. She had not expected Yiqing Qian to break through to the Earth Profound realm. The last time in the Magic Beast Forest, Yiqing Qian was still in the Mystic Profound 9th grade and there was no sign of her breaking through at all. When Yiqing Luo was in the Yellow Profound 9th grade, she was stuck for a long period of time. She was obviously on the verge of breaking through but had no way to do so. But in a short span of half a month, Yiqing Qian broke through such a huge barrier. Chapter 335. Not giving Yiqing Luo much time to think, that strong aura had already attacked Yiqing Luo. Releasing the profound energy of the Earth Profound realm, Yiqing Qian's speed and the strength of the long whip had a qualitative leap. Yiqing Luo was fast, but she was even faster. The profound energy that lingered around the long whip seemed to have locked onto Yiqing Luo, as it tightly wrapped around her back. Yiqing Luo quickly stepped on the strange footwork, her figure seemed to have disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. The other students who swarmed up were unable to use their naked eyes to track Yiqing Luo's figure. However, no matter where Yiqing Luo stopped, Yiqing Qian's long whip seemed to have grown eyes, chasing after her. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed a trace of horror. Did she see it wrongly? It seemed like. On top of Yiqing Qian's long whip, other than that dark ray, there was a trace of faintly discernible black qi moving about. It was not obvious at all. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to tell. What kind of aura was this? Because of that moment of distraction, Yiqing Luo's right arm was swept by that long whip. Instantly, a hole was torn in her red robe, revealing Yiqing Luo's fair skin. On her arm, there was a scarlet whip mark, extremely clear. Yiqing Luo felt a burning pain on her arm, glancing sideways, that scarlet whip mark was already oozing blood. Intruder, don't you think you're very fast? Come. Let's see if your legs or my whip is faster. Yiqing Qian's lips curled into a proud arc, as she sneered and waved the long whip. Looking at the lady in red being whipped, Yiqing Qian had the pleasure of hitting Yiqing Luo, that little waste. Her beautiful eyes were gradually dyed with an excited smile, as she raised the long whip in her hand and attacked Yiqing Luo once again. Luo lass, I'm afraid your eldest sister used some unusual means to break through the Earth Profound realm. Old Man Tsang's voice sounded in her mind. Unusual means. What did he mean? Was it related to that black chi? It's similar to your fourth sister, she has the aura from the dark side. Old man Song's tone was solemn. He pondered for a moment and said, the last time your fourth sister used an item from the dark forces, it seemed to be related to your eldest sister. With old man Song's reminder, Yiqing Luo recalled that during the ability assessment, Yiqing Qian had personally admitted that she was the one who passed the long sword to Yiqing Ling. Her excuse was that she had borrowed the sword from her Shifu, the head of the largest school, the Ten Scenic. In this way, Yiqing Qian and that long sword were inextricably linked. Yiqing Qian really had connections with the dark forces. If your eldest sister really borrows the power of the dark forces and breaks through to the earth profound realm. Old man Song's tone became increasingly heavy. I'm afraid that your eldest sister will be the same as your fourth sister, controlled by the evil energy of the profound Yin. While conversing with old man Song, Yiqing Jian did not stop her attacks. Yiqing Luo endured the pain from her arm and swiftly changed her footwork. Surely Yiqing Qian hadn't really been forced by her and made a deal with the dark forces, right? Last time, in order to fight for Yiqing Ling to be allocated to the high profound class. This time, was it to prove her ability? In order to become stronger, he was willing to pay any price. While she was dodging and dodging, the students had already invited the elder from the entrance. The mighty group of more than 10 people wasn't the one standing at the front of the group of people, Elder Yunxiang. Since yesterday, because of Lu Shuiyu's matter, he was caught red-handed by Yun Yun. In order to make Yiqing Luo satisfied, Yunxiang was also punished on the surface. Chapter 336. Yunxiang had thought that being in charge of the training forest was just opening the entrance and guarding the entrance to prevent students from getting injured during actual combat training. He had not expected that there would be an intruder. If this matter were to be passed to Yun Yun's ears, his small mistake would become a big one. Yunxiang was filled with dissatisfaction and wanted to settle the matter as soon as possible, so he hurried over. Standing far away, he saw Yiqing Qian waving her long whip as she chased after a lady in red. There was also a low-leveled mirage beast and 2 students were struggling to stop the mirage beast. What's going on? What's going on? How could there be an intruder in the heavenly training forest? Elder Yunxiang frowned as he walked over quickly. Yiqing Qian kept her long whip and cupped her fists towards Yunxiang. Elder Yunxiang, the students from the high profound class will not let off anyone who tries to destroy the peace of the school. Yunxiang's gaze met Yiqing Qian and a trace of astonishment flashed past his eyes. He could naturally feel the earth profound chi that was released from Yiqing Qian. Another student from the high profound class had broken through to the earth profound class. Why was there no reminder on the school's wooden plaque? Lu Shuilan followed beside Yunxiang but realized that he kept staring at Yiqing Qian and a trace of displeasure arose in her heart. Yunxiang had always been standing on Lu Shuiyu's side, and now that she had replaced Lu Shuiyu's position and became the acting vice president, it was only a matter of time before she became the vice president. But Yunxiang still had a lukewarm attitude towards her. Now he was still staring at Yiqing Qian. Could it be that he wanted to groom Yiqing Qian into the next Lu Shuiyu? This thought made Lu Shuilan's eyes sunk and she immediately opened her mouth. What Qing Qian said is right, our faculty council will not let the intruder off. However, Lu Shuilan's words made the surrounding high profound class students unhappy. What did they mean by faculty council? This was obviously the intruder who was discovered by the high profound class, and it was them who exhausted their energy to capture the intruder. How did it become the faculty council's credit? But due to Lu Shuilan's status, the students did not dare to voice out their dissatisfaction but only looked at Lu Shuilan's gaze with unhappiness. What faction are you trying to form? Settle that illusion beast for me, all of you quickly take down the intruder. The entrance is about to close. Yunxiang felt annoyed and waved his sleeves impatiently. He didn't have the free time to watch the disputes between some juniors, and he felt even more anxious in his heart when he thought about how there was only less than an hour left until the hour of 9. The white long robe swept past in the dark night, turning into an afterimage. The person had already rushed in front of Shiju. He waved his palm, bringing with it a wave of killing intent as he chopped down. Shengguan Fangyi and Yan Jinfei immediately retreated from the illusion beast's attack range. The two people's bodies were already riddled with scars long ago, all scratched by Shiju's claws. At this moment, 20 over high profound class students had surrounded Yiqing Luo. Class 1 and Class 2 had always been in a competitive relationship. But this time, the two classes were surprisingly cooperative. Yiqing Luo's arm was injured and her profound grade was not enough to withstand the earth-profound qi. The corrosion of the long whip caused her long arms to ache. At this moment, more than 20 Mystic Realm students swarmed forward. Suddenly, from Yiqing Luo's surroundings, a few gold coin darts suddenly flew over. The force of those gold coin darts was ferocious and strong, and with a swoosh-swoosh sound, it revolved around Yiqing Luo. Those high profound class students were on high alert as they sensitively took a few steps back. A few gold coin darts were embedded deeply into the ground. Chapter 337. Only to see three figures approaching at an extremely fast speed. In just a blink of an eye, they were already standing next to Yiqing Luo. These three people were dressed in red robes and their heads were covered tightly, only revealing a pair of penetrating eyes. "There's help!" a student cried out in shock. Yun Xiang was restraining Shiju when he heard this cry as he looked over with rapt attention. He saw another 3 intruders by Yiqing Luo's side. His heart suddenly trembled as he was overwhelmed with shock. The entrance to the heavenly training forest had always been sealed. Only today was the entrance opened and he had been guarding the entrance. If anyone were to barge in, he would definitely be the first to discover it. How could there be so many intruders? Quickly take down these 4 people. When we return, the elder quarters will send people to search the entire training forest and catch all the intruders. Yun Xiang's face was gloomy as the moves he struck out became more and more vicious. Yiqing Luo held onto her right arm as her peripheral vision swept past the few people beside her as her pink lips pursed. "What are you guys doing here?" These 3 people were none other than Qiao Jin, Yan Xiao En, Tong Ziqing. When she saw Tong Ziqing, Yiqing Luo was slightly astonished. "Didn't you say that we need to nurture our team consciousness? We're a team, aren't we?" Qiao Jin smiled as his tone was calm. "She did say that, but if the elder quarters were to find out, it would implicate the entire devil class." Yan Xiaoyi carefully avoided Yiqing Luo's injured arm as she patted her shoulder. "Don't worry, even if we suspect the entire academy, the elder quarters will absolutely not think that it's the devil class." "Stop the nonsense. Since you want us to understand what's called a team, why are you so apprehensive? Are you treating us as a team?" Tong Ziqing scoffed coldly. Her gaze towards Yiqing Luo was as unfriendly as usual. But the meaning in her words was obviously that she had listened to what Yiqing Luo said previously, acknowledging Yiqing Luo as her companion. Looking at the 3 people beside her, Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with warmth. Her brows were filled with smiles as she slowly nodded. "Yes, we're a team." Team. These 2 words, Yiqing Luo had thought and recited for 2 lifetimes. Finally today, she could openly say out the word team. In her previous life, as the head of the hidden family, she did not have the right to make friends, nor did she have the right to become companions with anyone. Everything she had should be given to the Yi family. This was the first time someone had treated her as a member of the team. She clenched her fists so tightly that she could no longer feel the pain from the whip wound on her arm. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, and there was a gleam of confidence in the depths of her charming eyes. Don't worry, I won't let anything happen to any of my companions. Yiqing Luo lowered her voice and shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady who was being guarded by Shengwan Fangyi. If there's a chance, help me bring that young lady away. As long as we bring her away, we can easily leave this place. Yiqing Qian also knew that her target was to bring that young lady away. It was to prevent her from getting close to the young girl and exhausting her strength. However, with the help of Qiao Jin and the others, as long as they cooperated well, it would be an easy matter to bring that young lady away. The few of them exchanged glances and nodded in understanding. Yiqing Luo's vision returned back to those surrounding students. Her gaze suddenly fell onto the wooden tokens on the students' waists, as her long and narrow eyes were suffused with a trace of treacherous craftiness. She abruptly raised her palm and a burst of profound qi was unleashed from both her feet. Chapter 338. The branches rustled and the fallen leaves on the ground were blown away by the strong wind. The shadows of the trees danced, and when the whirlwind blew towards them, those 20 over students felt a chill down their spines. Suddenly, a student cried out in shock, "My wooden token is gone. And mine!" One after another, the students touched the wooden tokens on their bodies in disbelief. That wooden token represented their points, represented their honor in the class. There was only 1 hour left till the end of the actual combat training. If they lost their wooden tokens now, it meant that their 1 day's hard work and 1 day's blood and sweat had all gone to waste. For students' wooden tokens were gone, and the other students immediately covered their own wooden tokens. After they touched their own wooden tokens, they heaved a sigh of relief. Those 4 students' faces were like frosted eggplants as they held tightly onto their waistbands, searching their entire bodies but couldn't find their wooden tokens. How could this be possible? They had obviously pinned their wooden tokens on their waistbands, waiting for the end of the training to lock in their own results. But if their wooden tokens were snatched away at this critical juncture, they would be eliminated. 1 hour. The eyes of the 4 students slowly landed on the students around them. Those 10 over students who still had their wooden tokens immediately covered their own as they took a few steps away from those 4 students. Are you looking for your wooden tokens? I saw him earlier. He was the one who took advantage of the chaos to steal your wooden tokens. Yiqing Luo smiled innocently as her charming eyes curved as she pointed towards one of them. That person was stunned as his face flushed red. What nonsense are you sprouting? How could I possibly steal their wooden tokens? Yiqing Luo shrugged her shoulders. The gazes of all the students were fixated on that person. Especially those 4 students who lost their wooden tokens, their gazes towards that person were filled with suspicion. It's not me. She's slandering us, trying to divide us. However, no matter how that person explained furiously, the students' eyes were filled with unconcealable suspicions. Suddenly, a sweet-sounding and calm voice rang out, "Don't be deceived by the intruder. He wants to make us fight among ourselves so that he can seize the opportunity to escape. How dare he show off such a petty trick in front of me?" Yiqing Qian's icy cold eyes stared coldly at Yiqing Luo as she scoffed, "The intruder is already injured, the other 3 are nothing to be afraid of." The students were skeptical. After all, this wooden plaque represented the final results of their training. If he were to be eliminated in the last hour, he would definitely suffer from internal injuries due to anger. Take him down first. If we continue to waste time like this, our wooden token will be in even more danger. One of the students shouted impatiently as he took the lead to raise his weapon and charged towards Yiqing Luo's direction. He hadn't even taken a few steps when he heard Yiqing Luo's clear voice leisurely ringing beside his ear, "Little brother, there's someone behind trying to steal your wooden token." The student subconsciously turned his head to look behind him. He saw the student whose wooden token had mysteriously disappeared standing behind him. He glared at the student whose wooden token was missing. Before he could explain himself, a gust of wind came slashing down from his palm. You from class 2, I didn't steal your wooden token. How dare you sneak attack me? When this palm landed, the student was so infuriated that he opened up a map. The collaboration between the two classes, which had been built up with much difficulty, was once again on the verge of collapse. Everyone looked at the person beside them, feeling that the other party was trying to snatch their wooden tokens. For a moment, suspicions lingered around the students, causing them to be on tenterhooks. Brilliant. Simply brilliant. Xiao Jin's lips twitched a few times. He knew that Yiqing Luo was black-bellied, but he had never seen such a black-bellied one. Chapter 339. Yiqing Luo's eyes rose as she added a few hints of ridicule. The human heart was originally selfish. Especially for those from high profound class, they were arrogant and had a heart higher than the sky. Other than themselves, they wouldn't believe anyone else. Now that they were grouped together, it was merely to make use of each other, to get what they needed. Yiqing Luo was just teasing her slightly, knowing that her words could possibly be fake. But they couldn't help but believe her words. Because they didn't dare to risk their own honor. What if the students from the other classes really wanted to snatch their wooden tokens? Class 1 and 2 students made a move, and that student from Class 1 called out the entire Class 2. This instantly caused Class 2 to rebound. Even if Yiqing Qian wanted to suppress the current situation, the seeds of suspicion had already sprouted in both parties' hearts, and there was no way to maintain the peace on the surface. Yiqing Luo shot a glance at the three people beside her as the arc of her eyes became even more enchanting. Yiqing Qian had been paying attention to Yiqing Luo's actions, and on seeing the few of them exchanging glances, her heart suddenly turned cold. Trying to escape from under her nose. Don't even think about it. Yiqing Qian's figure turned illusory as she waved her long whip, like a snake sticking out its scarlet tongue, as it coiled towards the direction of Xiao Jin and the others. A dagger suddenly coiled around that long whip. The long whip quivered as it became taut and straight. On the other end of the long whip, a dagger was coiled around. The one holding the dagger was Yiqing Luo. Her fingers gripped the dagger tightly as she controlled Yiqing Qian's long whip. Both parties were in a deadlock. The aura of an earth-profound realm expert constantly appeared on the whip's body. Wave after wave, through the long whip, through the dagger, striking onto Yiqing Luo's palm, which was holding onto the dagger. That strong profound qi had already corroded Yiqing Luo's internal organs at an extremely fast speed. Yiqing Qian apparently didn't expect that there was someone who wasn't afraid of death, attempting to withstand her earth-profound realm's qi, to be in a deadlock with her. Xiao Jin's pupils dilated slightly. He naturally understood that Yiqing Luo had already used her own strength to go against an earth-profound realm, which was a huge risk. If she was slightly careless, there was a possibility of being swallowed by the earth-profound realm's qi. If it was him, he would absolutely not be as decisive as Yiqing Luo. Xiao Jin's eyes were filled with determination as he clenched his fists. Wait for me. After saying these two words, the gold coin darts in his hand flew out like a fairy scattering flowers. While the students were dodging the coin darts, his figure became illusory and he broke through the students' encirclement. Be careful. Don't let him bring away the injured intruder. Yiqing Qian cried out in alarm, attempting to remind the high profound class students. However, the students of the two classes were now suspicious of each other. He was afraid that when he went to stop the trespasser, the other students would seize the opportunity and snatch his wooden token. Yiqing Qian was exasperated as she tried to retract her whip. But the other end of the long whip was held tightly by Yiqing Luo. Her eyes were covered with a layer of ruthlessness. Her slender fingers suddenly spread open, and a ball of earth-profound light enveloped her entire palm. Yiqing Qian brushed her palm against the long whip, completely releasing the prestige of an earth-profound cultivator. For a moment, the entire training forest was engulfed by strong winds and huge waves. Thick and sturdy trees with luxuriant branches and leaves were rustled by the strong winds. The shadows of the trees danced in the wind as the bright moon in the sky shone through the gap which was opened up, scattering fragmented splendor. The ground started to tremble slightly. The surroundings beneath Yi Qingqian's feet started to crack. All the students who were staring vigilantly at the people around them started to shift their gazes onto Yi Qingqian. Chapter 340. Yi Qingluo's eyes sunk as an oppressive feeling gushed up her chest as she felt a fishy sweetness in her throat. She forcefully suppressed that oppressive feeling as the dagger in her hand curled around the long whip once more. Following that, she revolved her profound qi to protect her heart. An earth-profound practitioner's power is too strong. Student Yi won't be able to hold on for too long. Let's end the battle quickly. Qiao Jin saw Yi Qingluo's pair of charming eyes as it was masked with a ball of thick black color. His heart tightened as he speedily rushed towards that cat-beast young lady. Just as he was about to stretch out his hand to grab her, a long sword blocked in front of him. Qiao Jin speedily shot out a gold coin dart as it spun a few rounds and struck heavily on the long sword. Shengguan Fang Yi's arm felt numb as his brows creased tightly as he looked at Qiao Jin. "You're in the way." Qiao Jin's brows revealed a sliver of impatience as he wasn't willing to waste time on Shengguan Fang Yi. Yan Zhenfei, who was still recuperating by the side, gripped her twin blades tightly as she tried to block Qiao Jin's path. But a ghostly voice rang beside her ear, "Your opponent is me." Before she could get up, she was pressed against by a slender figure. The sharp dagger was pressed against Yan Zhenfei's fair neck. This voice made Yan Zhenfei's pupils constrict as an inconceivable expression flashed past her eyes. She speedily reacted as her petite body swiftly retreated a few steps as she turned her head to look at the lady who stuck close to her. When she met Yan Xiaoyi's pair of spirited but chilly eyes, she seemed to have sunk into a trance as the twin blades in her hands dropped onto the ground. The two people guarding the cat-beast young lady were subdued. Tong Ziqing speedily waved her long whip as it rolled up the young lady lying on the ground and pulled her into her arms. Following that, the three of them stopped at the same time as they speedily returned to Yi Qingluo's side. Yi Qingqian's expression was gloomy as she had not expected Yi Qingluo to remain unmoved after she released her earth-profound stage qi. Instead, she restrained her even more. On seeing that young lady being brought away, she cursed in disappointment, "A bunch of trash." Her long whip shook as her profound qi turned into waves as it charged towards Yi Qingluo. But she had not expected Yi Qingluo to suddenly let go of her long whip when she was shaking it. "Retreat." Yi Qingluo took a deep breath, suppressing the sweet fishy feeling in her throat as she opened up her arms, pressing the few people behind her to retreat rapidly. The few of them had just moved when the wave of qi exploded with a loud bang. The place where Yi Qingluo was standing earlier had already turned into a huge black hole. "Shi Jue." Yi Qingluo shot a glance at the cat-beast young lady in Tong Ziqing's arms and immediately called out. Shi Ju was currently trapped by Yunxiang, unable to cross Yunxiang to help its master. Its eyes were already scarlet red, losing its patience. Upon hearing Yi Qingluo's call, the scarlet red beast's eyes blinked as it gave off a low growl. The huge body that was trapped swayed, and its huge back was already arched in an attacking posture. Although Yunxiang was summoned here later, he understood the current situation. Those people's goal was to save the injured intruders. If this magical beast met up with the intruders would definitely escape. He waved his palms, and an earth-shattering palm wind pressed down. He absolutely could not allow this mirage beast to leave. The raging wind swept past the trees, and that fragmented moonlight swayed, coupled with Shi Ju's piercing howl. It seemed extremely strange. Shi Ju's leopard claws slammed onto the ground as its huge body swiftly leapt up. It didn't hide, but instead it met Yunxiang's palm qi, charging upwards. Chapter 341. That palm chi brought along the momentum of swallowing the mountains and rivers. But the minute it came into contact with Shiju's teeth, that palm chi which had swept up the fallen leaves and caused the surrounding wind to burst out, stopped abruptly. Shiju's teeth were like a sharp blade. When it opened its mouth, it could bite off all life. Yun Xiang had not expected this low-leveled mirage beast to have such an ability. After it broke through his condensed palm wind, that huge leopard's head was just inches away. Yun Xiang's expression changed greatly as a panic which he had never felt before started to spread from the bottom of his heart. That pair of scarlet-red beast eyes shone with a coquettish brilliance, revealing an impatient murderous intent. Not waiting for Yun Xiang to react, that huge leopard's claw stepped on his chest. His internal organs seemed to be squeezed by a heavy object. He fell heavily onto the ground as his white long robe was swiftly covered by the scattered leaves and dust. Shiju stepped on Yun Xiang's chest and speedily rushed towards Yiqing Luo, giving off a sharp low roar. Well done. Yiqing Luo's pink lips rose under the veil as it floated gently onto Shiju's head. Her vision turned towards the back, go up. It was the first time for the three of them to see a mirage beast at such a close distance. Even though they knew that this was Yiqing Luo's contracted war pet, but when they saw that leopard's head which was bigger than their entire bodies, staring at them with a pair of scarlet-red eyes, their calves couldn't help but turn into jelly. Mirage beast grade war pet. That was equivalent to an earth-profound realm cultivator's strength. Yiqing Luo was actually able to contract such a powerful war pet. Quick! Make the best use of the time. Yiqing Luo caressed Shiju's head. Shiju bent its forelimbs as it lowered its body, allowing the few of them to climb up. Xiao Jin understood that this wasn't the time to be shocked by the mirage beast as he took the young lady from Tong Ziqing's arms and flipped over onto Shiju's back. Yan Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing exchanged glances as they swiftly climbed onto Shiju's back. Trying to leave. How could Yiqing Qian let them leave so easily? The long whip waved over once again as her figure speedily chased up to them. Yiqing Luo had yet to leap onto Shiju's back when Yiqing Qian was already nearing. The long whip swept out in an arc, setting off a strong imposing manner, heading towards Yiqing Luo's face. Coincidentally, Yan Xiaoyi and Tong Ziqing had sat down properly and Yiqing Luo forcefully endured the discomfort in her body as her palm struck the ground fiercely and her figure swiftly soared into the sky, landing stably on Shiju's back. This action caused the veil on Yiqing Luo's face to be lifted. When the few of them sat down, Shiju's figure transformed into a bolt of lightning. In an instant, he had already disappeared into the lush forest, disappearing without a trace. The entrance area was in a mess, and many students did not even dare to breathe. The intruder left. With low-level magical beasts as mounts, there was no way they wouldn't be able to catch up to the magical beasts. As for Elder Yun Xiang, he was severely injured by the illusionary beast and did not even have the strength to get up. The powerful qi that swept through the entire entrance gradually stopped. The fallen leaves slowly floated to the ground. And Yiqing Jian, who was originally waving her long whip to chase after him, stood stiffly on the spot. He even forgot to retract his whip. That beautiful face was filled with disbelief. She stared blankly at the direction where Shiju disappeared, as her heart thumped hard and trembled violently. Just now. The moment the veil was lifted, the outline that was vaguely revealed, that slender and fair jaw, rosy pink lips. Especially that pair of soul-stealing eyes. Yiqing Qian's heart seemed to be choked by something, even her breathing became heavy. That red-robed lady, was she Yiqing Luo? How could it be possible? How could she have the ability to enter the heavenly training forest? How could she have the ability? Recalling that low-level mirage beast, recalling the scene when Yiqing Luo sat on the high-level mirage beast's back, her expression instantly turned pale. Chapter 342. Shiju's speed was extremely fast, and in a blink of an eye, it had already brought the few of them out of the secret tunnel. Before they walked out of the secret tunnel, Yiqing Luo called out to Shiju. They had already left the training forest. Shiju's size and its Mirage Beast's aura would easily attract the attention of the other experts in the academy. They had to be careful. After Yiqing Luo and the others got down from Shiju's back, Shiju turned into a palm-sized pet. Yan Xiaoyi stared curiously at that palm-sized Shiju. She couldn't imagine that this was the low-leveled Mirage Beast which had the size of a thick tree. The current Shiju, which had shrunk, looked like a cat and a dog. Its cuteness was evident. Let's hurry back to the devil class, change our clothes and deal with it. Yiqing Luo scanned the surroundings vigilantly. Walking out of the training forest, this was the academy's turf. If the hidden experts in the academy were to find out about their devil class's matter, what happened in the training forest today would definitely implicate the devil class. Your wound must be treated in time. Let's get Lulu to take a look at it when we return to the devil class. Yan Xiaoyi looked at the wound on Yiqing Luo's arm, which had already congealed into a blood scab as her slender brows creased into a bundle. Yiqing Luo's profound grade wasn't high, but she was on par with an Earth Profound Realm cultivator. On the surface, she looked fine, but internally, she had suffered a serious internal injury. Qiao Jin single-handedly carried that cat-beast young lady in his arms. Let's go. Devil class, Beiming Lulu's pharmacy. Yiqing Luo laid on the bed and her arm had been bandaged. Her face was pale without any color of blood. One look and one knew that her injury wasn't light. Beiming Lulu sat by the bedside, and the silver needles in her hands accurately pierced into Yiqing Luo's various acupoints. Her medical skills were brilliant, and she was confident that she could restore Yiqing Luo's body back to its original state. But it would take some time. Yiqing Luo's internal organs were all attacked by Yiqing Qian's profound qi. She didn't feel any pain when she contended with Yiqing Qian in the training forest, but the moment she laid down and moved slightly, she felt a heart-wrenching pain. Looking at Yiqing Luo, who was in so much pain that her forehead was drenched in cold sweat, Beiming Lulu sighed softly. I really don't know what kind of physique you have. Your profound grade isn't high to compete with an Earth Profound grade cultivator's profound qi. Your internal organs are almost shattered. It was strange. Beiming Lulu had never seen anyone with Yiqing Luo's physique. If it was an ordinary person, even if it was a profound practitioner of the profound realm, forcibly receiving the profound energy released by a profound practitioner of the Earth Profound realm would result in their internal organs being shattered and becoming a cripple. In the worst-case scenario, they would be devoured by the profound practitioner of the Earth Profound realm and disappear from this world. However, Yiqing Luo only suffered an internal injury. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels were intact. It was as if something was protecting her internal organs. Yiqing Luo's breathing was slightly unstable as Beiming Lulu kept pricking her body with needles one after another, causing her body to tremble in pain. Student Yi, you're too reckless. Looking at Yiqing Luo biting her lower lip tightly, sweating profusely in pain but trying her best to suppress the pain, Qiao Jin's tightly knitted brows creased into a bundle. He was at the scene and saw everything clearly. Recalling the scene of Yiqing Luo using the dagger to restrain Yiqing Qian and competing with profound qi, a chill ran down her spine. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as she shook her head. I'm fine. Sure enough, he needed to improve his strength as soon as possible. She needed to find her own profound jade heart as soon as possible. Otherwise, based on her current strength, if she met someone with a higher profound grade, she would be helpless. If it wasn't for the fact that the Azure Dew bracelet had activated its protection mode in time and used the enchantment to protect her internal organs, her injuries would definitely not be just this. Chapter 343. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she revealed a faint smile. She could tell that these people were genuinely concerned about her. I'm really fine. If it wasn't for your help today, I wouldn't be able to bring this lass away so smoothly. Yiqing Luo's brows were tinged with smiles, we're a team and today's coordination was extremely good. Qiao Jin and the others saw her smiling so peacefully as an indescribable gloominess gushed out from their hearts. Student Yi, I hope that in future when you're facing danger, you'll think of us behind you. Tong Ziqing, who was leaning against the door with her arms crossed in front of her chest, putting on a sour face, her icy cold gaze swept past Yiqing Luo. We don't have that kind of leisure to be able to rush to your side in time every single time. Seeing Tong Ziqing's obviously concerned but awkward look, Yiqing Luo laughed softly. Yes, I won't do it in future. Her charming eyes curved into crescents as she smiled, like a bright crescent moon, radiating brilliance. The others looked at her smile and that indescribable gloominess in their hearts slowly dissipated. Not knowing when it started, Yiqing Luo seemed to have become the core in their eyes. Yiqing Luo had obviously joined Devil class for merely half a month, but her position in their hearts was the same as Long Yunzhan. Perhaps it was because when Yiqing Luo first entered Devil class, that confident and resolute gaze, using her own ability to speak boldly, had awed them. Or perhaps it was because every single time Yiqing Luo was able to use her words and her views to convince them. Or perhaps it was because Yiqing Luo obviously looked cold and indifferent, not someone who liked to meddle in other people's business, but towards all the students in the class, she had never been stingy with her help. Especially today, she faced 20 over high profound class students alone, not panicking in the face of danger. Even after they appeared, in order to ensure their safety, she went against Yiqing Qian's actions alone. Their hearts were completely shaken. They asked themselves honestly, if it was them, would they really be able to be so resolute? That's right, where's that young lady? The minute she reached Devil class, she was forcefully brought to Bei Ming Lu by Qiao Jin and that young lady was sent somewhere else. The room next door. Tong Ziqing frowned and a trace of impatience flashed across her eyes. I didn't expect Student Yi to be so kind. For a girl whom you don't even know, you actually wanted to rescue her from the hands of more than 10 high profound class students. Do you really think that you're a god? Tong Ziqing really couldn't understand why this seemingly cold woman would save someone completely unrelated to her time and time again. Previously, he had helped Denai Rupin, and now, he had saved that strange young girl. Furthermore, both of them were extremely troublesome. Could such a kind person really stand firm in this world in the future? She's not an ordinary person. Yiqing Luo had no intention to tell them in detail about the matters regarding the Beastmen clan. Old Man Sang had said that the Beastmen race had already been extinct in the entire Nirvana realm. Even if he said it out loud, these people might not understand and it might even cause panic. She chose an explanation that everyone could accept. Look at the ears on her head and that black tail. She's not a normal human. Qiao Jin and the others already had doubts in their hearts. This was the first time they had seen a person with a pair of cat ears and a cat tail. This was the reason why Yiqing Luo chose to save that young lady. Chapter 344. Qiao Jin and the rest didn't say anything else. Bei Ming Lu had already finished her acupuncture and heaved a sigh of relief. Rest for a few days. In less than 5 days, I guarantee you will be back to your previous state. 5 days. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she shook her head slowly. No way, I must go for the freshman training. If I don't go, I'm afraid our actions today will be exposed. In the training forest, when she leapt onto Shi Ju's back, she seemed to have seen Yiqing Qian's astonished face. Yiqing Luo wasn't sure if Yiqing Qian had recognized her. If she didn't attend the freshman training at this time and stayed in Devil class, based on Yiqing Qian's character, she would definitely be suspicious. If Yiqing Qian knew that she was the one who saved the young lady in the training forest, she would then trace it back to devil class. The current devil class wasn't strong enough to contend against the entire academy. Long Yunzhan must have the same thoughts as her. If the academy knew about devil classes students' aptitude and forcefully allocated them to the intermediate or low profound classes, and they didn't have the ability to make these students stay, then the gains would not make up for the losses. Before they could confirm, they couldn't take the risk. Just based on your current state, you still want to attend the freshman training? Bei Ming Lu put down the bottles in her hands as she rolled her eyes at Yiqing Luo. Don't spoil my reputation as the #1 divine doctor. I'm afraid tomorrow Yiqing Qian will come to the freshman training ground to confirm. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. She also understood that with her current physical condition, it was impossible for her to complete the freshman training. But if she didn't go, Yiqing Qian would place the suspicion on her. She couldn't risk the entire devil class. At most we'll let Master Guiyu apply for leave from the instructors. Just say that Master Guiyu is training us trash and wants you to be a training example. Yan Xiaoyi clapped her hands fiercely. Right, let's do it this way. This will only make Yiqing Qian more suspicious. Yiqing Luo shook her head as she lowered her head to look at the acupuncture point on her chest and gently breathed out. Is there any way to cover up the whip wound on my arm? Qiao Jin's expression changed. Who cares if she has suspicions, we'll deal with it when the situation calls for it. Earlier you said you won't joke with your life, aren't you playing with your life? I know what I'm doing. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. Lulu should have a way to make me get off the bed tomorrow. Baiming Lulu slightly raised her eyebrows. She was extremely confident in her medical skills, of course, but it's only limited to getting out of bed. If you participate in the freshman training, even if my ancestor comes back from the dead to heal you, it would still be impossible. Yiqing Luo nodded slightly. As long as I can get off the bed and act like a normal person, that's enough. Move like a normal person. Baiming Lulu creased her slender brows. Although your internal organs weren't crushed by Yiqing Qian's profound qi, but you're more or less injured, and the moment you move, you'll feel pain. It's a little difficult to move like a normal person. It's nothing. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards. It was just pain, she could bear with it. In the past, she had endured all kinds of hardships, tiredness, and pain. Even if someone were to take a knife and cut her flesh, she would not make a sound. Chapter 345. Based on Yiqing Qian's character, if she had any suspicions today, she would definitely not be able to sleep at night. Tomorrow morning, she would be waiting at the training grounds to test if I'm injured. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up slightly as a cold arc flashed past. If I were to go to the training ground safely and let her see it with her own eyes, it would dispel her suspicions. Then, just like what Xiao Yi said earlier, before the training starts, let Teacher Guiyu bring me away in front of her and everything will fall into place naturally. Yiqing Qian's character was to only believe what she saw with her own eyes. As long as she could prove that she was not injured and safe in front of Yiqing Qian. No matter how much suspicions Yiqing Qian had, she would not be so sure. And Guiyu's character had always been to do as he pleased, even if it was in front of the instructors. Forcefully bringing her away was a very normal thing. The few of them looked at each other. Yiqing Luo's method was not impossible. But did Baiming Lulu really have a way to let Yiqing Luo act like a normal person tomorrow? Qing, Madam Qing Luo. A weak voice was heard from the door as Ni Ruo Pan stood at the door. If Yiqing Qian doesn't believe me, what should we do? Yiqing Luo spread out her hands and shrugged. If she doesn't believe me and wants to test me, I will give a signal for Teacher Guiyu to bring me away in advance. Yiqing Qian doesn't have the guts to go against Teacher Guiyu. She had already thought of an escape route. Let's follow Student Ye's method. A figure dressed in a blue robe walked in slowly from behind Ni Ruopan. Class monitor. The few of them stood up and greeted Long Yunjan. Long Yunjan nodded his head as his calm gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo. After some time, he flipped his palm and a jade bottle appeared in his palm. This is the actual combat training's reward. Congratulations, first place. Although Long Yunjan was congratulating her, but his tone didn't have any undulations. Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned as she looked at the jade bottle which Long Yunjan passed over. First place. My points have not changed since the beginning, how could I possibly be first place? She spent the entire day with Ni Ruopan and the magical beast points were all used to give Ni Ruopan actual combat experience. Her wooden token had always been 30 points. After that, he barged into the High Profound zone and met the students from the High Profound class. How could he get first place? You have 106 points in total. Long Yunjan's vision swept past Tong Ziqing who was leaning against the door with a sour face, and immediately returned to Yiqing Luo. This is your reward, 106 points. Oh my god. So many. Yiqing Luo's charming eyes suddenly flashed, as though she understood something, as she looked straight at Tong Ziqing. You've given all your points to me? Tong Ziqing snorted coldly. 30 points are the initial points. Under your guidance, Ni Rupan has gained 14 points. Take the remaining points as a gift from me. With that, she turned around with a proud look on her face and left the pharmacy. How willful. What happened to the strong desire to win? Was it really a good idea to give her the first place just like that? Madam Qing Luo, actually Vice Class Monitor and the rest will rush over to the High Profound Zone to look for you. It's all thanks to Sister Ziqing, she's actually very concerned about you. Ni Ruopan looked at Tong Ziqing's departing figure, worried that Yiqing Luo would get angry, so she hurriedly explained for Tong Ziqing. She originally didn't like Tong Ziqing's character. She only felt that Tong Ziqing was too overbearing, using her power to bully others. Usually the one who led the bullying was Tong Ziqing. Chapter 346. Ni Rupan could no longer hate Tong Ziqing for what she did. From Ni Ruopan's mouth, Yiqing Luo then found out that Xiao Jin and the others were able to rush over to the High Profound class in such a timely manner and specially prepared their red robes and masks, was all thanks to Tong Ziqing. From the moment they entered the heavenly training forest, Tong Ziqing went straight in, looking for magical beasts to accumulate points. It was Ni Rupan's first time in the training forest, so her physique was far from Tong Ziqing's. She could not keep up with Tong Ziqing's pace. He was thoroughly humiliated by Tong Ziqing. Tong Ziqing directly pushed the battered Ni Rupan to the side when they were killing the demonic beasts. She then scolded the wretched Ni Rupan for not being a hindrance since she was a good-for-nothing. Ni Ruopan's pride was insulted as he left Tong Ziqing and walked back to the entrance to wait for Yiqing Luo. Following that, under Yiqing Luo's guidance, they killed magical beasts one after another. While Tong Ziqing was accumulating points, she suddenly discovered that the points on the wooden tablet had mysteriously increased. She felt that it was strange, thinking that there was something wrong with the wooden tablet. To prevent the class leader from accusing her of cheating, Tong Ziqing specifically found Xiao Jin and explained the situation. Xiao Jin guessed that Ni Rupan killed the demonic beasts to accumulate points for her team. Tong Ziqing could not believe that Ni Rupan, who was so useless that she would gasp for breath after running a few steps, could actually kill a demonic beast. His points were still increasing at an average rate. How could this be? Hence, Tong Ziqing, Yan Xiaoyi and the others followed the location indicated by the wooden token and found Ni Ruopan who was hugging Yiqing Luo's uniform and sprinting with all his might. After knowing that Yiqing Luo had a conflict with the High Profound class students, Tong Ziqing immediately rushed over to the High Profound zone. I know. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but chuckled after she heard the entire sequence of events. Her existence made Tong Ziqing feel threatened. Since Tong Ziqing had feelings for Long Yunjian, it was only natural that she would target him previously. She knew that Tong Ziqing had wholeheartedly agreed with what she said in the class committee room. It was just that she was unable to lower her pride to ask for peace with Yiqing Luo. Such a proud and awkward little girl was quite cute. Also, Ni Rupin glanced at Yen Xiaoyi from the corner of her eye, then she lowered her voice and said, I'm afraid classmate Yen has been recognized too. What do you mean? Ni Ruopan licked her dry lips. High Profound Class's Yen Zhenfei is student Yan's elder sister from the same father and mother. Yen Zhenfei's innate talent has been strong since young and was admitted into Heavenly Academy at a young age. In just 1 year, she passed the semi-annual class promotion test and entered High Profound Class 2. Hearing this, Yiqing Luo roughly understood what Ni Ruopan was trying to express. These students in Devil Class were all trash in the past and Yen Xiaoyi was no exception. Her talent was not as good as her sister's, and she had been living under her sister's brilliance since she was young. Everyone could only see Yen Zhenfei but not Yen Xiaoyi. Hearing Ni Ruopan's concise and comprehensive description of Yen Xiaoyi and Yen Zhenfei's relationship, Yiqing Luo recalled that she and Yiqing Qian were once like this. However, her unexpected arrival had changed the fate of this body. But Yen Xiaoyi was different. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she stared at Yen Xiaoyi with interest. She didn't believe that Yen Xiaoyi would obediently live outside of Yen Zhenfei's halo. Based on Yen Xiaoyi's character, she would absolutely not allow herself to be at a disadvantage. Behind this halo, it was hard to say who was in charge. Chapter 347. Ever since Ni Ruopan entered Devil Class, she had been extremely cautious. To integrate into Devil Class, the first thing was to understand the students in Devil Class. She was most proud of her memory. Because of this, she had memorized the information and hobbies of the people in her class. Towards Yen Xiaoyi, she had some understanding. No worries, it's the end of the month holiday in a few days. By then, I will think of a way to dispel Yen Zhenfei's suspicions. Yen Xiaoyi waved her hand indifferently, totally not putting Yen Zhenfei in her eyes. When she first came to Devil Class, her motive was to work together with Long Yunjian, to lead the Devil Class until they could contend against the High Profound Class, then participate in the school's competition. Ruthlessly slapping Yen Zhenfei's face, ruthlessly stepping on the pride of the Yen family. Even if Yen Zhenfei knew in advance, so what if Yen Zhenfei recognized her? What could Yen Zhenfei do to her? Oh, that's right, it's almost the end of the month, the school will have a 3-day holiday. Bei Ming Lulu's eyes lit up. In this case, student Yi, you can no longer participate in the training. Holiday. Yiqing Luo then recalled that it was indeed written in the booklet that the school would have a holiday on the last 3 days of every month. No matter if it was a master or a student, they had to leave the school. This was the school's tradition and rule. Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk as her slender brows creased slightly. A holiday was much more troublesome than staying in the school. In the school, she could still make use of Guiyu to cover up her injury. But if she returned to the Yi family, Yiqing Qian had borrowed the power of the dark forces and had just advanced to the Earth Profound stage. If she returned to the Yi family, she would not be able to live peacefully. Looked like. After hiding in the school for the past few days, she would have to hide for the 3 days of holiday. With Lulu treating you, by the time the holiday arrives, your body should have recovered by 70 to 80%. Qiao Jin leaned by the side as his brows rose slightly. Based on your ability, when you return to Three Springs Sect, Yiqing Qian won't be able to gain any advantage from you. Bei Ming Lu nodded. If student Yi cooperates, she will indeed be able to recover by 70 to 80%. Looking at these people, Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with warmth. Everyone in the devil class treats you as one of the team members and is very concerned about you. So, I hope today's incident will not happen again. Long Yunzhan, who had been silent, opened his mouth faintly. He stood by the bed, his gaze indifferent and his expression indifferent. Only that pair of rippling blue eyes gazed intently at Yiqing Luo, revealing some seriousness. Yiqing Luo met that pair of blue eyes and was slightly stunned. She suddenly recalled that day, the conversation between him and Chi, and her heart suddenly trembled. There were so many people in the pharmacy. Yiqing Luo resisted the urge to ask him about Chi's whereabouts and his relationship with Chi, nodded her head and responded yes. Today's actual combat training, you were almost discovered by the high profound class and caused such a huge commotion. It's your fault. After you recover from your injuries, you will be responsible for the cleanliness of the devil class for 7 days as a warning to others. Class monitor. Qiao Jin opened his mouth, trying to plead for Yiqing Luo. Long Yunzhan casually glanced at Qiao Jin. His expressionless face and eyes were as calm as water, adding a bit of indifference to his whole person. Qiao Jin immediately fell silent. This is indeed my fault. I am willing to accept the punishment. When she did the action of going out to save that young lady, Yiqing Luo had already guessed that this action of hers had already violated the devil class's rules. Long Yunzhan's punishment wasn't considered heavy, and it was only on the surface, to warn the other students. Long Yunzhan didn't say a word, as he remained silent as when he came, as he calmly turned around and left the pharmacy. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as she stared at Long Yunzhan's back view. He wasn't going to tell her where Chi was. Chapter 348. That night, in order to prevent Yiqing Qian from hesitating and purposely waiting for her in the dormitory to see if she was injured, Yiqing Luo got off the bed after pulling out the silver needles. Just like what Bei Ming Lu had said, the moment she moved, her internal organs would be affected and there would be bursts of throbbing pain. Yiqing Luo endured the pain and wore her uniform neatly. After looking at her in the mirror for a while, apart from her pale complexion, she didn't seem to be out of the ordinary. Holding the painkillers that Bei Ming Lu had prescribed for her, she had just walked out of the devil class when she saw Lu Xiaoyu standing at the entrance of the devil class, waiting anxiously for her. Qing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu saw her and immediately went forward. Her eyes were filled with worry as she stared at Yiqing Luo from head to toe. She wanted to support Yiqing Luo but didn't dare to touch her. Vice class monitor asked you to come over. One look at Lu Xiaoyu's expression and she knew that she was specially waiting for her. Lu Xiaoyu nodded, her bright eyes were already filled with tears. He said you had suffered a serious internal injury but you can't let the other students know, so he asked me to fetch you. Qiao Jin was considerate. Her current condition indeed made it impossible for her to return to the dormitory normally. With Lu Xiaoyu around, at least she had the strength to support herself. Yiqing Luo didn't say what had happened, so Lu Xiaoyu naturally wouldn't ask. Lu Xiaoyu was an intelligent girl and knew the reason why Qiao Jin specially asked her to fetch Yiqing Luo. She was like usual, holding Yiqing Luo's arm with one hand, her face revealing the same smile as usual. In fact, Lu Xiaoyu's position could support most of Yiqing Luo's strength. On the way back to the dormitory, Lu Xiaoyu kept on chattering about the intermediate profound class, talking about the things that the masters had taught her recently. Yiqing Luo occasionally responded. From Yiqing Luo's increasingly heavy body, Lu Xiaoyu could feel that Yiqing Luo's body couldn't take it anymore. Finally returning to the dormitory, she had just opened the door when she saw Lu Xiaoyu sitting there asking around, her eyes staring straight at Yiqing Luo. Lu Xiaoyu's expression congealed as she slightly straightened her back, giving Yi Qing Luo a strong support. Qing Luo, the instructor said that today's training will add a new exercise, let's rest early today. Lu Xiaoyu said as she held her arm and only released her when they reached Yi Qing Luo's door. Behind him, Lu Xiaoyu sneered, why does it look like student Yi is struggling to walk? Yi Qing Luo's heart trembled fiercely. As expected, Yi Qing Qian recognized her. When she leapt onto Shiju's back, half of her veil was lifted by Yi Qing Qian's whip, allowing Yi Qing Qian to see it. But she didn't expect that Lu Xiaoyu would still be in contact with Yi Qing Qian after the violation of the academy's rules, and even came to test her on behalf of Yi Qing Qian. Yi Qing Luo chuckled lightly as she glanced sideways and sneered, if the former vice president has the time to pay attention to me, why don't you think about how to get back your position? If you lose the faculty council member status, you won't be able to see your dear president anymore. Yi Qing Luo chuckled. With just a few words, he poked at the sore spot in Lu Xiaoyu's heart. You. Lu Xiaoyu slammed the table and stood up, her cold and elegant face immediately showed anger. However, Yi Qing Luo didn't bother about her as she opened the door and walked into the room. Chapter 349. Yi Qing Luo had just closed the room door and that forcefully supporting body leaned against the door as she panted heavily. But when she smelled that familiar sandalwood scent in the room, she was completely stunned. She immediately raised her eyes and saw a tall figure standing in the middle of the room. He was dressed in a purple robe, and the ink was loose on his shoulders. That peerless talent, usually filled with smiles whenever he saw her, was expressionless. That pair of gleaming peach blossom eyes were sinister and treacherous, revealing a few hints of danger. This gaze made one's back go cold. Yi Qing Luo's body suddenly tensed up. She had never seen this expression from Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian had never revealed such an expression in front of her before. Her heart trembled fiercely. Dmo Xian knew what happened to her today. Yi Qing Luo took a deep breath, suppressing the intense beating of her heart. She had just opened her mouth to speak a word when she softened her tone, Xian. Dmo Xian wasn't like usual. When he heard Yi Qing Luo's intimate call, he beamed with joy as he went forward to embrace her into his arms. He stood on the same spot, filled with viciousness, his thin lips pulled, forming a frosty arc. Lil Luo really enjoyed herself today, so much that you can't even stand properly now. That voice seemed to be wrapped in frost, making one shudder. Yi Qing Luo was in the wrong. She had caused herself to be seriously injured, making Dmo Xian worried. It was her fault. Seeing Dmo Xian's viciousness getting thicker, Yi Qing Luo's pink lips pouted, her eyes were stained with tears. As she looked at Dmo Xian pitifully, her voice was sweet and coquettish. Xian, I'm in pain. That tone was one which Yi Qing Luo had never used before. It was a little aggrieved, a little choked. Oh. You also know pain. Dmo Xian's obsidian-like destructive eyes was biting cold as he sneered. Yi Qing Luo bit her lower lip, as her eyelashes were stained with tears. I'm in pain, so in pain. I need Xian's kiss and hug to stop the pain. This method of acting coquettishly was unparalleled. Dmo Xian's face, which seemed to be sealed in ice, started to show some cracks. Yi Qing Luo had been paying close attention to Dmo Xian's expression and seeing that acting coquettishly worked, she might as well throw away her moral integrity and coquettishly said, "Aw Xian, I'm in so much pain that I don't have any energy, carry me." Dmo Xian's face was still cold, but he still walked over and hugged Yi Qing Luo's waist in his arms. His movements were fast, but extremely light. Yi Qing Luo almost didn't feel the pain from her body when she fell into the man's arms. That elegant sandalwood fragrance lingered around her nose, and Yiqing Luo's heart, which had been hanging in suspense, gradually calmed down. Dmo Xian carried her all the way to the bedside. Just as he was about to put her down, Yiqing Luo's slender fingers suddenly grabbed onto his robe. That uninjured arm circled around Dmo Xian's neck, encircling him. The girl's sweet and exquisite face came close to Dmo Xian's eyes. With the fragrance of a young lady, Yiqing Luo's pink lips pressed onto Dmo Xian's. Her actions were a little careful, but also a little fawning. After a peck, Yiqing Luo moved her lips away as she buried her head into the man's chest. "Ah Xian, I didn't intentionally let myself get hurt. My plan was to coordinate with Shi Ju to save that young lady without any harm at all, but I'd not expected Yiqing Luo to have broken through to Earth profound grade." Dmo Xian didn't say a word, and towards Yiqing Luo's kiss, he didn't turn passivity into initiative like in the past. It could be seen how angry he was right now. Chapter 350. After acting coquettishly, she also fawned on her. Yiqing Luo felt that she had already thrown away her moral integrity. That young lady was from the Nirvana realm's secret beast race. Saving her might allow her to form a contract with her, to open up her bloodline. If the young lady wasn't willing to form a contract with her, then she would have another beast race friend. To Yiqing Luo, there were only benefits and no disadvantages. Under such circumstances, she would naturally be fully prepared before she stepped forward to save her. Initially, when she took a liking to Shi Ju, what attracted her the most was Shi Ju's speed. If she wasn't able to save her and the situation changed, she could totally ride on Shi Ju and leave swiftly. Furthermore, she had the secret art of teleportation on her. If she sensed that something was amiss, she would be able to protect herself by displaying her teleportation. Because of this, she dared to use her own strength to go against 10 over high profound class students. But no matter how she calculated, she hadn't calculated that Yiqing Qian had broken through to Earth profound realm, nor had she calculated that Qiao Jin and the rest would rush over to help her. Escape route. This is your escape route. Dmo Xian scoffed lightly as his fingers suddenly moved and easily undid Yiqing Luo's waist seal. Yiqing Luo's petite body stiffened. His fingers parted her uniform, his fingertips faintly brushing against her skin, causing her to shudder. Yiqing Luo's breathing suddenly stopped, not understanding what Dmo Xian's actions meant. Yiqing Luo's clothes were already half opened, revealing the fair skin on her left shoulder. Dmo Xian's fingers slid down and revealed her entire arm. Her arm was wrapped with a layer of medicinal powder, but it still couldn't hide the blood scab from the whip, which was extremely conspicuous. Dmo Xian's peach blossom eyes squinted slightly as his fingers suddenly pressed on her wound. Hiss. Yiqing Luo sucked in a breath of cold air in pain as her body kept on shrinking backwards. That finger which was pressing on the wound, on hearing her cries of pain, couldn't bear to loosen his strength. Immediately after, a cool feeling was emitted from Dmo Xian's fingertips. That cool feeling, after it had passed through the wound, the pain from Dmo Xian's pressure disappeared. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes guiltily as she softly called out Dmo Xian's name. "I'm sorry, I know you're angry with me, I promise there won't be a next time, alright?" Dmo Xian remained silent as he calmly took out a jade bottle from his netherworld dragon ring and changed her dressing. His expression was ice-cold, and his eyebrows were calm. However, his actions were extremely gentle. As though Yiqing Luo was his treasure. He held it in his mouth, afraid that it would melt, and held it in his palm, afraid that it would fall. His cautiousness made Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly warm up as her nose turned sour. In front of others, she was confident, insolent, and arrogant. Only in front of Dmo Xian, she was like a little woman. Even if a knife was pressed against her neck, she would not show the slightest bit of fear or the feeling of wanting to cry. But this man gently helped her apply medicine, which made her so touched that she wanted to cry. Even more than that, she was filled with guilt. I know, the current me is no longer alone. Devil class's companions are very important, but you are even more important. Yiqing Luo's curly long lashes fluttered as she gazed deeply at the handsome face which was just inches away from her. I've made you worried, I'm sorry. The wound on her shoulder had been bandaged again. Bursts of cool feeling drowned out that pain. Dmo Xian's slender fingers hooked onto Yiqing Luo's clothes as he gently and slowly helped her put it on. Chapter 351. Dmo Xian's voice was filled with suppressed pain. He stretched out his hand and hugged Yiqing Luo's petite body. Light and slow, incomparably gentle. He didn't dare to use force, afraid that if he did, the person in his arms would be in pain. Slowly embracing Yiqing Luo into his arms, Dmo Xian's head buried in her neck. The man's warm breath sprayed on her skin. Like a ball of fire, burning her. Perhaps it was because his action was very light, or perhaps it was the effect of the medicine he applied. Yiqing Luo totally didn't feel any pain. Even the internal injuries suffered in her internal organs didn't cause any pain because of the slight movement of her body. I'm angry at myself, will let you get hurt. The man's voice in her neck was very low, indistinctly, a little unclear. But it wasn't hard to hear, his tone, vaguely, I should protect you. Should protect you completely. His words, word by word, were like a warm current, flowing into Yiqing Luo's heart. Her brows overflowed with some tenderness, her charming eyes were filled with warmth. It's not your fault, don't blame yourself, I will feel terrible. Dmo Xian's head slowly lifted up from her neck. That pair of glistening peach blossom eyes reflected Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up, smiling like a flower. Exquisite peerless looks, at this moment, seemed to cover up all the beauty in the world. For pairs of eyes met, there was only each other in their eyes. I know you care about me, and want to protect me forever. Yiqing Luo's voice was as gentle as a feather, yet filled with seriousness and determination. But Xian, I want to grow, want to become someone who can stand by your side, who can protect you. I'm not a woman who hides under a man's wings, relying on a man to survive. I don't want to not only be protected by you, I also want to protect you. Love was not a matter of one person, but a matter of two people. It was originally mutual equality. Stick to each other, protect each other. Dmo Xian was strong, but it didn't mean that she only needed to enjoy Dmo Xian's strength to contribute for her. What she wanted to do was to stand by Dmo Xian's side, like how he protected her, to protect her. Dmo Xian wasn't willing to see her get hurt and fall into danger. Was she willing to see Dmo Xian fall into danger for her? This time, I was careless and overconfident. I admit my mistake. Yiqing Luo stretched out her uninjured hand and her fair palm caressed Dmo Xian's face. My Xian dotes on me, cares about me and will absolutely not stop me from growing up, right? The woman's eyes were resolute and the expression on her face was not as cold and proud as before. Instead, it was like a pool of warm water, gently wrapping around Dmo Xian's heart. Dmo Xian's heart was violently shaken. These words, Yiqing Luo had told him before. However, each time, he was shaken in a different way. This was the woman he fancied, the most unique woman in this world. He had always been at the top, respected and feared by tens of thousands. But only Yiqing Luo didn't care about his identity, didn't care about his power, and only treated him as an ordinary man. She would not ask for his protection, nor would she hide behind his back. She would take things as they came and enjoy a lifetime of peace. She said that she wanted to walk side by side with him, to protect him. This was the first time someone said that she wanted to protect him. And it was a woman. Dmo Xian could deeply feel that Yiqing Luo treasured him. Chapter 352. Yiqing Luo smiled, her charming eyes curved, filled with infinite affection. The man's pale thin lips, with a trace of elegant sandalwood fragrance, lightly imprinted on her forehead. That sandalwood fragrance blurred Yiqing Luo's eyes. She only felt her eyelids heavy, and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, she was awakened by Lu Xiaoyu's knocking on the door. Opening her eyes, the room was quiet, only the sandalwood fragrance in the air proved Dmo Xian's existence last night. Yiqing Luo blinked her sleepy eyes, propped up her arm and got up. She then realized, in shock, that she was not as unbearably painful as she had imagined. The wound on her arm had been changed and bandaged. A burst of cool feeling stopped all the pain. She raised her hand and covered her chest. The profound jade heart at her heart was emitting warmth. Her entire internal organs were enveloped by that warmth. Although her body was not as relaxed as before, but moving like a normal person, there was no problem. Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly lit up, her face overflowing with a smile. Dmo Xian he actually considered so thoroughly for her. Knowing that he was unable to change her decision, and unable to see her endure the pain, he used his own way to protect her. The profound jade heart injected his energy. During this period of time, was able to relieve the pain on the body. Compared to Bei Ming Lulu's medicinal pills, it was much more effective. Yiqing Luo came out of the room, the corners of her mouth hung an unconcealable smile. Lu Xiaoyu lightly knocked on the door, her face trying her best to pretend to be calm. But that smear of anxiety in her eyes collided into Yiqing Luo's eyes. Seeing Yiqing Luo come out, Lu Xiaoyu heaved a sigh of relief. Without leaving a trace, she sized her up. Training is about to be late, let's go quickly. Yiqing Luo nodded lightly, raised her eyes to see Lu Xiaoyu still sitting in the hall, staring at her with a gloomy face. Still not dispelled the intention to test her. No wonder Lu Xiaoyu was so worried that she couldn't wait to directly barge into Yiqing Luo's room, but was afraid that her worry would let Lu Xiaoyu know that Yiqing Luo was injured, so she forcibly endured it. Let's go. Yiqing Luo directly ignored Lu Xiaoyu, stretched out her arm and directly held onto Lu Xiaoyu's shoulder as they walked towards the dormitory's entrance. When the two of them walked out of the door, Lu Xiaoyu suddenly stood up and chased after them. She stared maliciously at Yiqing Luo's back view, her delicate brows tightly knitted into a bundle. Lu Xiaoyu had also heard about the intruders in the training forest. Yiqing Jian had specially told her that one of the intruders looked extremely similar to Yiqing Luo. If that intruder was Yiqing Luo, the current Yiqing Luo should have suffered from an extremely serious internal injury, and without 10 days to half a month's rest, it was impossible for her to move. Last night when he saw Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu returning intimately, looking at Yiqing Luo's state, it was indeed a little strange. But now, Yiqing Luo was no different from usual. Which one of her looked like someone who was seriously injured? Lu Xiaoyu's eyebrows furrowed, her cold and elegant face twisted into a sinister expression. She clenched her fists, gritted her teeth, and followed him out of the dormitory, walking in the direction of the freshman training ground. Indeed, as Yiqing Luo had expected, they had just reached the training ground when they saw Yiqing Jian, who was surrounded by everyone, standing at the entrance. Her usual gentle gaze was now filled with seriousness, sizing up the freshman. See that's Three Springs Sect's eldest young miss, the #1 beauty in Three Springs City, Yiqing Jian. I heard that she had broken through to Earth Profound Realm during the actual combat training in High Profound class yesterday. Earth Profound. So powerful. No wonder she's a student from high profound class. Chapter 353. Voices of discussion rose and fell in succession in the entire training ground. This other world had always believed in the rule of the strong. In the eyes of these freshmen, the high profound class was a godlike existence. Especially when they heard that Yi Qing Qian had broken through to the earth profound stage in the actual combat training, all the freshmen's gazes towards Yi Qing Qian had turned into worship and ecstasy. Yi Qing Luo understood Yi Qing Qian's motive for coming here, but she pretended not to see her as she held Lu Xiaoyu and walked directly into the freshman training grounds. Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Qian's eyes sunk as she called out to Yi Qing Luo coldly. Yi Qing Luo ignored her as though she didn't hear anything. This action infuriated Yi Qing Qian. Yesterday, after she realized that the intruder was Yi Qing Luo, she couldn't sleep at all. She specially asked Yi Qing Luo's dormitory mate Lu Shuaiyu to probe, but she didn't expect Lu Shuaiyu to totally ignore her. For the entire night, Yi Qing Qian's eyes seemed to be floating in the training forest. The red-robed lady's veil which was lifted and the outline which was vaguely revealed kept overlapping with Yi Qing Luo's face. Tormented her for the entire night. Yi Qing Qian had been waiting here for Yi Qing Luo since early in the morning. Only by probing herself would she be able to ascertain if that red-robed lady was Yi Qing Luo or not. The current her was feeling vexed as she suppressed her anger. Especially when she saw Yi Qing Luo, who had tormented her for the entire night, this anger surged uncontrollably into her heart. Yi Qing Qian shot a glance to the side. Following her were Sheng Wanfangyi and Yan Zhenfei. Yesterday they had suffered such a huge loss in the hands of the intruder. If they were able to ascertain that Yi Qing Luo was the intruder, they would absolutely not let her off easily. The two of them swiftly went up and blocked Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's slender eyes narrowed as her red lips curled into an enchanting cold arc. A good dog doesn't block the way, scram to one side. The minute she opened her mouth, she wasn't courteous at all. Yi Qing Luo scoffed lightly as she raised her hand to slap the arm which was placed horizontally in front of her. Sheng Wanfangyi didn't expect Yi Qing Luo to make a move as he suddenly withdrew his hand. But no matter how fast his reaction was, he wasn't able to match Yi Qing Luo's speed. Yi Qing Luo's hand looked like a casual slap, but her fingertips were extremely sharp. A gash appeared on his sleeve. It wasn't a big cut, but this action was like a vicious slap to Sheng Wanfangyi's face. That rather handsome face instantly turned gloomy. Yi Qing Luo. You dare to make a move in front of so many students. Are you trying to violate the Academy's rules? Violate the Academy's regulations? Yi Qing Luo's charming eyes curved as she couldn't help but laugh out. Which eye of yours saw me making a move? You blocked my way without any explanation. Should I also say that you attacked me? Sheng Wanfangyi's words were blocked, and his face turned red. His tightly clenched fists were already bulging with veins as he forcefully suppressed his rage. Seventh sister. Yi Qing Qian slowly walked towards her, the corners of her lips curled up into a faint smile as she spoke in a gentle tone. Eldest sister has something to ask you. Her expression was gentle, her smile was gentle, and her tone was gentle. However, the cold probing and scrutinizing look in his eyes was extremely obvious. Yi Qing Qian's brows creased slightly as she secretly had some doubts in her heart. Yesterday she had used 100% of her strength, completely charging her earth profound grade profound qi into the intruder's body. That intruder's profound grade was absolutely not high, so there was no way he could defend against her profound qi attack. Even if in the end, the intruder rode on the mirage beast and escaped from the training forest. But that intruder would absolutely suffer an extremely serious internal injury, and without lying in bed for 10 days to half a month, he would definitely not be able to climb up. Chapter 354. Yiqing Qian's brows creased slightly, as her beautiful eyes stared at Yiqing Luo's hand. Yesterday, she had lashed the trespasser's arm with her whip. She could clearly see that the intruder's arm had been whipped till the flesh split open, as fresh blood flowed out. With the profound qi of the earth-profound realm, ordinary people would probably be crippled if they received that whip. Even if that intruder was not an ordinary person, after receiving that whip and her profound qi attacking her internal organs, that arm would be crippled if not crippled. But Yiqing Luo raised her hand to slap away Sheng Wanfang Yi's hand, which was coincidentally injured by her whip. Could it be that the intruder was really not Yiqing Luo? I heard that eldest sister has already broken through to the profound earth realm. You're indeed the pride of the Yi family. Yiqing Luo's eyes opened into a long arc, as she revealed a teasing smile, as she blinked her eyes innocently. A few days ago, eldest sister was punished to wash the latrine for 3 days. This punishment actually helped eldest sister to break through to the profound earth realm. Looks like eldest sister and the latrine are fated. Yiqing Qian's smiling face instantly darkened. Her stomach started to roll. Yiqing Luo seemed as though she didn't see Yiqing Qian's expression as she giggled. It's the academy's holidays in a few days. Why not hand the Yi family's latrine over to eldest sister to clean? Perhaps the next time we meet, eldest sister will become a sky mystic overlord cultivator. Her tone was coquettish, sweet with a hint of a young lady's innocence. Coupled with that exquisite beautiful face, it was impossible to believe that Yiqing Luo intentionally said these words, or that she really thought that Yiqing Qian would be able to advance by cleaning the latrine. Full of sarcasm. Instantly, the surrounding students burst out laughing. Yiqing Qian's face was a mix of green and red as she frowned. That day when she was cleaning the latrine, it seemed to fill her nose again. Cleaning the latrine for 3 days was a memory that Yiqing Qian didn't want to recall for the rest of her life. That was the biggest stain in her life. After she was punished, the students didn't dare to laugh in front of her because she was a high profound class student, nor did they dare to mention it. But now, the culprit who caused her to be punished to clean the latrine for 3 days, was actually using this stain to ridicule her in front of all the new students. A chord in Yiqing Qian's brain snapped. That pair of gentle and lively beautiful eyes shot out in intense hatred. Just as Yiqing Qian flew into a rage and attempted to make a move, the hand that she raised was pressed down by a slender hand. Then, a cold voice rang out, "Student Yi, can you tell us where you were for the entire day yesterday?" It was Lu Shuiyue. She stood in front of Yiqing Qian with her head held high and the expression on her face was as cold as usual. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed as her slender brows rose slightly. Sure enough, these two people hooked up again. She had originally wanted to agitate Yiqing Qian into losing her rationality and force her to make a move. Then he asked Lu Xiaoyu to summon the instructors and directly send Yiqing Qian to the elder quarters. This way, she could follow the script and continue to develop. She had not expected Lu Xiaoyu to rush over and even specially stopped Yiqing Qian. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed with ridicule as she laughed lightly. "Don't tell me where I am, where I go, what I eat and what I do. I have to tell Vice President everything. Don't talk glibly, you know what you're doing." Lu Xiaoyu's face sunk. That term, Vice President, was simply a slap on her face. Chapter 355. Seventh Sister, you've misunderstood Shuaiyu's meaning. Yiqing Qian smiled lightly, gently put her hand on Lu Shuaiyu's shoulder and walked past her towards Yiqing Luo. "The academy will be on holiday in a few days. I want to ask you if you want to go home with me." As she said, her hand naturally grabbed Yiqing Luo's hand. Yiqing Luo sneered in her heart. She understood that Yiqing Qian wanted to test if there was any whip wound on her arm. Since Yiqing Qian wanted to test, then she naturally had to give her a big gift. Yiqing Luo's gaze fell on Yiqing Qian's hand. her expression changed immediately and she took a few steps back in a panic. "Elder sister, you can't touch here." Her dodging made Yi Qingqian's eyes lit up. Especially when she saw the panic on Yi Qingluo's face, she was even more certain of her guess. If Yi Qingluo's arm was really injured, then she was definitely the intruder yesterday. "Why can't I touch here?" Yi Qingqian put on a puzzled look. "Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? Let me take a look." This time, Yi Qingqian directly grabbed Yi Qingluo's wrist forcefully. She didn't forget to pretend to be concerned as she muttered, "Child, you're so worrisome both at home and in the academy. If you're not feeling well, just tell me. In this academy, I'm your only family. No wonder you're a student from the high profound class. Your profound grade is extremely high, your innate talent is strong, you're beautiful and so kind, treating your sister so well." In the training ground, a freshman stared at Yi Qingqian with an envious look. "Kind? I didn't see how kind this genius from the high profound class is." Dong Huanglang spat disdainfully and looked at Yi Qingqian mockingly. "Who doesn't know how to pretend, who knows what she's planning?" Although the other freshmen didn't dare to say it out openly like Dong Huanglang, but they all nodded and agreed with what he said. The surrounding students were basically this batch of new students. Seeing this scene of sisterly affection, they were all suspicious. They weren't fools and their memories hadn't deteriorated. Yi Qingqian even brought Lu Shuiyu to find trouble with Yi Qingluo in front of them. It was obvious that the relationship between the two sisters was not as good as it appeared to be. Moreover, the reason why he was waiting for Yi Qingluo at the training ground so early in the morning was to ask her if she wanted to go home together with him. The freshmen looked at each other in dismay. No matter how they looked at it, they felt that Yi Qingqian had another motive. Due to the incident where Yi Qingqian led Lu Shuiyu to slander Yi Qingluo for violating the academy's regulations, these freshmen's impression of Yi Qingqian had long fallen to the bottom of the valley. That was how people were. When you're doing well, everyone thinks that you're doing well. But when you have the slightest stain, you will deny everything you have ever had and only remember that stain. To these freshmen, there wasn't any image of Yi Qingqian's gentleness and elegance in their minds. What existed was only the image of Yi Qingqian targeting her own sister, and in the end, she went for wool and came home shorn, being punished to clean the latrine. After all, for the past half a month, although Yi Qingluo didn't interact much with them, but every time she trained, her serious and determined attitude was able to motivate everyone, persevering to complete the daily training. Even the cold-faced instructor was full of praise for Yi Qingluo. These freshmen naturally stood on Yi Qingluo's side. However, Yi Qingqian didn't notice this. Her face still hung a concerned smile, her 5 fingers locked onto Yi Qingluo's wrist, grabbing her arm. Chapter 356. Just as Yi Qingqian's hand was about to touch Yi Qingluo's bandaged wound, Yi Qingluo's arm suddenly retracted as she blinked her flustered eyes. "Sister, you really can't touch, This retraction made Yi Qingqian's hand, which was clasping her wrist, slid downwards. Yi Qingqian's grip was extremely tight, and this slip caused the thing in Yi Qingluo's tight sleeve to slip out, falling into Yi Qingqian's hand. Yi Qingqian originally clasped Yi Qingluo's wrist tightly, but after Yi Qingluo struggled free, her palm grabbed onto a soft thing, subconsciously clenched tightly. Immediately, a lump of yellow stuff oozed out from the handkerchief and covered Yi Qingqian's hand. It was sticky and yellow stuff, and it even had a strange stench. This visual impact looked like a hand. Hot shit. Yi Qingqian's face instantly turned as black as charcoal. That mashed up and yellow lump reminded her of a few days ago when she was cleaning the latrine. In the process of cleaning, she couldn't help but be stained with those substances. Immediately, the feeling of tumbling in her stomach became more obvious. The smile on her face could no longer hang on. When the surrounding freshmen saw the lump of stuff in Yi-Ching Qian's hand, all of their expressions turned ugly and wanted to laugh. Some even held onto the wall as they retched. Sigh. Eldest sister, I said you can't touch it, look. On the contrary, Yi-Ching Luo, who was hiding this pile of yellow stuff, looked at Yi-Ching Qian with a face full of reproach. This is the mud sculpture which I had painstakingly made yesterday when I was competing with Devil Class's students in playing mud. I still wanted to bring it home and place it in my room. Mud? The freshmen widened their eyes as they stared at the lump of stuff in Yi-Ching Qian's hand as their mouths twitched. Some of the freshmen had sharp ears and heard the 3 words Devil Class. It was indeed the Devil Class, which was known as the Waste Class. Other students trained hard and worked hard to learn knowledge while Devil Class students competed in playing mud. When the freshmen thought of Yi-Ching Luo's performance in training, all of them felt that it was a pity. She was obviously a moldable talent, but she was allocated to the Waste Class and had to accompany a bunch of waste to play mud. This was simply ruining Yi-Ching Luo. Big sister, you broke my mud sculpture. You have to compensate me. Yi-Ching Luo seemed as though she didn't notice the gazes of the surrounding people as she spoke out in grievance. She felt wronged. She still wants me to compensate her. Yi-Ching Qian's expression was colorful as she was so angry that she wanted to slap Yi-Ching Luo to death. Putting a lump of mud in her sleeves without rhyme or reason and putting on an innocent look, Yi-Ching Luo was deliberately playing with her. Yi-Ching Luo's charming eyes blinked again as she stared at the lump of yellow substance that Yi-Ching Qian was stiffly carrying. After some time, her expression changed as she covered her nose and retreated backwards. Elder sister, you look like you've caught a lump of sh*t. It would have been better if he hadn't said it. The moment he said it, the surrounding freshmen who were suppressing their laughter and felt disgusted couldn't help but burst into laughter. Yi-Ching Luo, you. Yi-Ching Qian's face was filled with hatred as she gritted her teeth and wanted to use that lump of thing in her hand to wipe Yi-Ching Luo's face. But when she raised her hand, Yi-Ching Luo took a few steps back with a look of disgust. The lump of yellow stuff in her hand was sticky to begin with. After she raised her hand, that sticky lump of mud fell from her hand onto the ground. It looked more like a pile of sh*t. It's almost time for training. What are you all doing? Still not lining up? Chapter 357. Instructor Ho and Instructor Chu walked over expressionlessly as they glanced coldly at Yi-Ching Qian with an unfriendly expression. It's freshman training time. What are you students from the high profound class doing here? Yi-Ching Qian had a stomach full of anger and nowhere to vent it. Now that the instructors were here, she could only swallow her anger. Instructor Chu's gaze shifted to Yi-Ching Qian's hand, which was raised in mid-air, and after a glance at the lump of yellow substance, he frowned. I heard that Student Yi was punished to clean the latrine a few days ago. I didn't expect Student Yi to fall in love with things in the latrine. But this thing is harmful after all. You are a student of the high profound class. Pay attention to your image. Don't smear the name of the high profound class. If you like this stuff, just hide in the dormitory and play with it. This was the first time the freshmen heard Instructor Chu say such a long sentence. They didn't expect him to be so humorous when he looked cold and black. The freshmen couldn't help but burst out laughing. After saying this, Instructor Chu didn't even look at Yi-Ching Qian. He walked directly to the middle of the training ground and shouted loudly, "A bunch of little brats, gather immediately." Yi-Ching Qian, who was ignored, her twisted face flushed red. She bit her lips hard, restraining the surging anger in her heart. The other party was an instructor. Even if he was a freshman instructor, she couldn't refute him. Otherwise, she would be disrespectful and didn't know how to respect the teachers. Especially in front of a group of freshmen, she might even be labeled as a bad influence. Sheng Wanfang Yi and Yan Jinfei, who followed behind, saw this situation and walked over with an ugly expression. "Student Ching Qian, let's leave first." Obviously, the two instructors were helping Yiqing Luo. They originally came to test if Yiqing Luo was the intruder in the training ground, but not only did they not succeed, they were humiliated instead. Even if they stayed, they would be a joke to the other students. There was no way to gain any advantage. If it wasn't for the fact that the training forest was a secret place, it would definitely cause panic among the students if the news spread out. They were ordered by the elders not to divulge anything. Otherwise they would directly strip Yiqing Luo's clothes and forcibly check if she was injured. Leave. Yiqing Qian's sinister beautiful eyes were covered with frost as she gave a cold humph. Why should I leave? Training is about to begin. As the eldest sister, I naturally have to take a good look and see if my seventh younger sister, who likes to play with mud, is training properly. When she mentioned the word mud, Yiqing Qian gritted her teeth. The two of them were startled, but they immediately reacted. They had all experienced the freshman training, so they naturally knew how tough and tiring it was. Based on the extent of Yiqing Qian's serious injury to that intruder last night, it was absolutely impossible for her to take on these training. Although Sheng Wanfang Yi and Yan Zhenfei had long dispelled their suspicions towards Yiqing Luo. One must know that Yiqing Qian had unleashed an earth-profound practitioner's coercion yesterday. Yiqing Luo was just a yellow profound 9th grade cultivator. Her internal organs had been attacked by an earth profound's coercion and she was still alive and kicking in the training grounds. But looking at Yiqing Qian's ashen face and that sh*t, the two of them knew that she was infuriated and could only stay behind. When Yiqing Luo heard the instructor's shouts, she followed along. Lu Xiaoyu followed behind her as she stretched out her hand and hooked onto Yiqing Luo's arm. Qing Luo, when did you hide such a thing in your sleeves? Ha ha ha, Yiqing Qian's expression is just too good. I've watched a good show so early in the morning. Chapter 358. Earlier Yiqing Qian had grabbed her wrist with a lot of strength and in order to squeeze the mud wrapped in her sleeve into Yiqing Qian's hand, she had used a lot of strength to struggle free. This struggle had probably caused the wound on her arm to split open again. Yiqing Qian's whip yesterday was too vicious. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath as she endured the pain and didn't show it on her face. Lu Xiaoyu felt Yiqing Luo's body stiffening and recalled Yiqing Luo's pale face yesterday. A trace of annoyance flashed past her eyes. She immediately loosened her hand. This morning, seeing Yiqing Luo's radiant look, she thought Yiqing Luo was fine. Her heart was filled with guilt as she followed behind Yiqing Luo, her eyes filled with worry. Standing in the team, Yiqing Luo's gaze swept past Yiqing Qian who was standing outside the training ground as she frowned. She knew Yiqing Qian wasn't someone who could be easily dismissed, but she didn't expect that after personally testing her to confirm that she was not injured, Yiqing Qian still hadn't dispelled the thought of suspecting her. Just a slight movement of her arm and Dmo Xian's pain relief had lost its effect. If she continued to train, her internal injury would probably worsen. Just as Yiqing Luo was waiting anxiously for Old Man Yu to appear, she suddenly heard Instructor Ho's cold voice. High profound class students, please do not disturb the freshmen's training. If you have the time, why don't you go to the square and run a few rounds? Not waiting for Yiqing Qian to reply, Instructor Ho's icy cold gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo. Student Yi, to create such a commotion early in the morning and even delay his students' training, go to the library pavilion now and clean up the second floor. If you haven't sorted it out properly, don't leave the library pavilion today. The minute he said that, Yiqing Qian's expression changed as her expression changed. She subconsciously clenched her fists but forgot that her palms were filled with sticky yellow substance. The moment she clenched her fists, the mud on her hands was squeezed out. It landed on Sheng Wanfang Yi and Yan Zhenfei who were standing nearest to her. Both of their faces flushed red. Their hearts were filled with disgust but they didn't dare to show it on their faces. Yi-Ching Qian was so infuriated that she was trembling and her throat felt a fishy sweetness as she almost vomited blood. She originally wanted to probe out Yi-Ching Luo's true colors, and as long as she was certain that Yi-Ching Luo was the intruder, the elder quarters would absolutely not let her off easily. He had never expected that he would become a joke. She took a deep breath and suppressed the rage in her heart. She didn't believe that Yi-Ching Luo could be so lucky for a few more times. With a swing of her arm, Yi-Ching Qian's face darkened as she turned around and left the freshman training grounds. The freshman's vision fell from Yi-Ching Qian to Yi-Ching Luo. She shook her head in sympathy. It was obviously Yi-Ching Qian who came looking for trouble, but the one who was punished was Yi-Ching Luo. Although they were freshmen, they knew that the library of the Heavenly Academy was so big that one could get lost in the toilet. To clean the library, even if they cleaned for an entire day, they might not be able to finish it. While the freshmen were pitying her, Yi-Ching Luo heaved a sigh of relief. It was a good thing for her to clean the library and avoid training. At least in the library, no one would find out that she was injured. Yi-Ching Luo took a step forward and raised her eyes to look at Instructor Ho. Yes. When she saw the helpless and worried look in Instructor Ho's eyes, Yi-Ching Luo suddenly understood. It looked like the instructors had discovered Yi-Ching Qian's motive for looking for her. They could tell that she was indeed injured. That was why they asked her to go to the library. It was perfectly justifiable to avoid training and avoid Yi-Ching Qian's sight. Chapter 359. The Heavenly Academy's library pavilion was equivalent to the modern society's library, gathering all kinds of books from the Nirvana realm. There were also many books that were lost in the outside world, which could be found here. Mental cultivation methods, everything was there. But the library pavilion also had its own rules. You had to rely on your ability to speak. The first level of the library pavilion was open to all students, but most of them were ordinary books on profound qi, cultivation methods, moves, etc. Whereas the second level of the library pavilion was rumored to be divided into several categories. Each book was a famous word in the outside world, but they were all rare treasures. It was rumored that there were students on the second level who had learned many useful mental cultivation methods. However, low and intermediate profound class students were not qualified to go up to the second level of the library pavilion, nor were they qualified to borrow books back to the dormitory to read. Although high profound class students were qualified to go up to the second level, but there were restrictions. For example, the cabinet on the second level, high profound class students were absolutely not allowed to step into it. And the books on the second level could not be brought out of the library pavilion. Only the students from the class of God could enjoy all the preferential treatment in the library pavilion. Yi-Ching Luo had originally intended to find time to visit the library pavilion after the freshman training, to familiarize herself with the situation in this strange world. She had not expected to come to the library pavilion early today. And it was directly up to the second level. Yi-Ching Luo took the punishment slip from Instructor Ho, and under the guidance of the librarian, went up to the second level. Of course, no one was envious of Yi-Ching Luo being able to go up to the second level. As the second level was more secretive, the librarian was not qualified to stay on the second level for too long, so it had been a long time since they cleaned up. The huge second level, even if Yi-Ching Luo went up to the second level, just cleaning up would take up an entire day. Where would she find the time to read? The second level was brightly lit, and the four sides were inlaid with fist-sized luminous pearls. The furnishings on the second level were different from the first level. The first level was row after row of bookshelves, categorized according to the area. Whereas on the second level, each category had its own individual room. As far as the eye could see, it was room after room, with the category of books pasted on the door. After the librarian opened the door to the second level, he went downstairs. Yiqing Luo had been enduring the pain, and now that she was alone, her face instantly turned pale and her forehead started to sweat. She looked around and confirmed that there were no high-profound class students on the second floor. She then pushed a random reading room and locked the door. Leaning against the wall, she slowly sat on the floor. Yiqing Luo unbuttoned her shirt, revealing half of her shoulder. The whip wound on his arm had indeed split open. At this moment, bright red blood seeped out and dyed the white gauze red. She took out the pill that Baiming Lulu had given her from the profound phoenix ring and swallowed it. Then, he bandaged his wound again. He leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. After resting for a long time, the pain in his right arm gradually disappeared. However, she couldn't do any physical training right now. As for cleaning, she probably couldn't do it either. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath, propped herself up against the wall and walked out of the reading room. She had to read through all the books on the second floor before she could sort out the best tidying plan and quickly finish the cleaning. There weren't many people on the second level and no one had tidied it up for a long time. There was a lot of dust and the categories were randomly placed. Yiqing Luo walked all the way to the end of the second level and memorized all the categories on the door. His mind began to think about where to start cleaning, the easiest and most efficient way to complete the task of cleaning. Chapter 360. Someone's there. Yiqing Luo cautiously stopped her actions as her body subconsciously leaned against the wall. This voice didn't sound like a young man's voice, but an extremely deep voice, at least 30 to 40-year-old middle-aged man's voice. Heavenly Academy's students, the oldest was only 24 years old. Because Heavenly Academy had a rule, if one was unable to graduate from the academy before 25, he would be expelled from the academy directly. The library pavilion was only open to high profound class and class of God students. Even if the masters wanted to come, they had to get the approval from the elders. Because of this, when she heard this deep middle-aged man's voice, Yiqing Luo instinctively felt that this person had ill intentions. It's settled. The students will be on holiday in 2 days' time. I've already kept those few people whom his lordship had pointed out, without leaving any traces. Following that, a sinister voice was heard. This voice sounded familiar to Yiqing Luo, but she couldn't recall where she had heard this voice before. And this conversation was filled with a strange feeling, as though they were carrying out some sort of plan. Perhaps it was because this timing wasn't the time to read. Or perhaps the two of them often met here at this time of the day. These two didn't check if there was anyone on the second floor of the library pavilion and directly started their conversation. The two of them had already walked into the library pavilion and were standing in the middle of the long corridor in the middle of the reading room. Yiqing Luo was at the end of the long corridor, a long distance away from them, but the surroundings were lit up by the luminous pearls. As long as she took a slight turn, she would be exposed to these two men's line of sight. Hearing their footsteps nearing, Yiqing Luo's heart tightened. These two men's conversation was obviously a secret. If they discovered her existence, they would definitely silence her. In this academy where there were crouching tigers and hidden dragons, Yiqing Luo didn't think that she had the ability to escape from these two undetectable middle-aged men. She congealed her senses and silently recited the incantation in her heart. Her feet shook slightly as she displayed the blink movement secret art and quietly slipped into the reading room at the end of the corridor. She stuck close to the tightly shut wooden door, not daring to make any more movements. Following that, she heard the two men outside walking as they continued to speak. That freshman. Don't worry. I'm keeping a close eye on that freshman, he will absolutely not let his lordship down. When the middle-aged man heard this, he nodded with satisfaction. After a long silence, the middle-aged man said in a deep voice, adding a bit of solemnity, Master's great plan is about to be completed. If anything happens at this critical juncture, I won't be able to protect your life. Don't worry, Lord Protector. We will do our best to serve the Lord." The middle-aged man nodded in satisfaction. "I will put in a few good words for you in front of the Lord. See you in 2 days. Many thanks to Lord Protector, Lord Protector's great kindness. I will never forget it." Another person immediately flattered, showing his loyalty. Not long after, the corridor outside returned to silence. Yiqing Luo didn't go out immediately and didn't dare to risk releasing her perception to sense if the people outside were still around. About an hour later, the entire second floor was completely silent. Yiqing Luo then rubbed her 4 stiff limbs which had not moved at all. At this moment, the blood in her body had already numbed her entire body. As she relaxed her 4 limbs, Yiqing Luo's brain was spinning rapidly. From the conversation between the 2 men earlier, Yiqing Luo heard a few messages. 1. These 2 men were preparing to implement some plan during the Academy's holiday. 2. The few people whom they pointed out were likely to be related to the Heavenly Academy and needed those few people to complete the plan. 3. Above them was a mysterious man who was addressed as His Lordship. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.